It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Mike Elgan's here, Ian Thomson, and Brian McCullough from the Tech Meme Ride Home. We'll talk about Apple's financials and the new products they announced and what it bodes, I think, for the long-term success and future of the Macintosh and PCs in general. We'll talk about the CIA's not-so-secret websites and why your iPhone should stay away from balloons. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 691, recorded Sunday, November 4th, 2018. The Prosecco Experience. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. From the founders of Carbonite comes the cloud storage technology that's disrupting the industry. See for yourself. With free unlimited storage for a month, go to wasabi.com, click free trial, and use the offer code TWIT. And by Rocket Mortgage, by Quicken Loans, introducing Rate Shield Approval. If you're in the market to buy a home, Rate Shield Approval locks up your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. It's a real game changer. Learn more and get started at rocketmortgage.com/twit2. And by Casper, a sleep brand that continues to revolutionize its line of products to create an exceptionally comfortable sleep experience, one night at a time. You can save $50 towards select mattresses by visiting casper.com/twit and using the promo code TWIT at checkout. And by Stamps.com. Buy and print real U.S. postage the instant you need it right from your desk. To get our special offer, go to Stamps.com, click the microphone, and enter TWIT. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the latest tech news. A great panel today. First time, no, I guess you've been on before. Never mind. I take it back. Brian McCullough is here.
This is my fourth.
It's his fourth time, but it's the first time since your book came out. How about that?
That's right.
He is the host of the Tech Meme Ride Home at techmeme.com, but also brand new book, and I don't even have the final release edition. This is an early galley of how the internet happened. You were doing the internet history long before you were doing Tech Meme, right?
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah. So now here it is in advanced uncorrected proof form. How the internet happened. Congratulations on the release of the book. That's great.
Thank you, Leo.
You can see a full interview with Brian on Triangulation for this week with Megan Maroney. Nice. Triangulation 371. Also here, Mike Elgan, the peripatetic Mike Elgan, who has decided to put down roots for a moment.
Who has no idea how the internet happened.
How did that happen?
I've always wondered that.
Gastronomad.net. Digital.
Yes.
Yes.
Gastronomad.net.
I got it right.
Gastronomad.
That's because your son Kevin's here. I'm going to show what Kevin's up to in a little bit. It's really cool, his new startup. But it's great to see you.
Great to see you, too.
You're home visiting Princess Squishy
Got
Face.
back yesterday from Italy. Yeah.
How did the Prosecco experience go?
Fantastic.
Oh,
it was fantastic. We got it all completed right before biblical flooding just almost washed away Venice.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah.
I saw the pictures. It was thigh deep in St. Mark's Square.
It's amazing. People were swimming in St. Mark's Square.
But that happens every freaking time, every year in Venice.
It's frequent. Yeah, but we had sunshine and
nice.
It's a great way of washing the streets as well.
So the next gastronomad experience is in Mexico City.
We're leaving in a week to go.
So Amira's not down there yet, but she'll be on her way. Then Morocco. I want to do that one.
Yeah.
And then back to Prosecco. Provence, and Cava, Barcelona. I'd like to do that one.
And we're going to add some more next year too. They're
awesome.
People love them and getting a lot of repeat.
This has become a really great thing. I'm really thrilled for you.
Yeah,
thanks for the Prosecco.
You're very welcome. Yeah. This is called Nudo, which is Italian for nude, and it's called that because
you get naked when you drink it.
That too, also. But it also has no additives of any kind, including no sulfites. So it's just 100% Glera.
No hangover then, yeah.
No hangover.
A basso tenore di sulfati.
Yeah, this is a brilliant winemaker by the name of Sarah Menegutz, and she is just a brilliant winemaker, and you're going to love this Prosecco. You can't get this in the U.S. unless I bring it. So
Thank you. And to your left, Mr. Ian Thomson, all the way from the register.co.uk, where he is news editor. It's great to see you again.
Always good fun, and yes, we've had a good week's news to really chew into.
Did you bring us some news?
Oh, there's a bunch of stuff. There's Moron Gate. There's
Wait a minute. What's
satellite?
what Moron Gate?
Oh, this was the latest attempt. This was a press conference was called this week by an internet celebrity called Jacob Wall, who apparently basically responds to every tweet Trump makes with, "Oh, you're the best thing in the world." Anyway, he called...
I've never heard of this man.
Oh, don't worry, a lot of people haven't. But he called a press conference in Virginia saying that they had proof that Robert Mueller had had an affair.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah. Provided by this
and
company.
Then he didn't show up.
The person didn't show up, but it was all based on this report by Surefire Intelligence.
Yeah.
Created by somebody who doesn't know about Google image reverse search.
Oh, dear.
Because all the sort of, if you search for the pictures of the people there, it was both Jacob Wall himself, the guy who plays the Jew hunter in Inglourious Bastards, one of Israel's top supermodels. And you think, really? They're doubling down to work for you guys? And then the affidavit was robo-signed, and it was a complete farce. But yes, it got the Moron Gate tag, and I was just like, yeah, that's good.
The internet, it's quite a concept, and someday we'll all understand how it works. So there was that. There was Apple had a little event.
Yes.
And we could talk about that, of course. Apple also released financial results and decided, folks, this is the last time we're going to tell you. This is the last time we're going to tell you how well the iPhone, iPad, Macintosh sale.
I wonder why.
We don't. Well, Luca Maestri, the CFO, said because it doesn't reflect our business. What? How does that even legal? Isn't the reason
a lot of companies do it?
No, Microsoft does the same thing. They don't break out individual sales. It seems to me, and I don't really understand this, and I was hoping maybe somebody smart would explain it to me, that the whole reason publicly held companies are supposed to give quarterly results is so that investors can make an intelligent decision about whether to buy their stock or not, whether to invest in the company or not. And it seems to me germane when you are talking to investors about your quarterly results that you tell them how they're doing, how your stuff is selling.
Yep, you'd think, but...
And is there no enforcement on this? Are you allowed to do anything you want in your results? Could you just say, "Hey, it was great, thumbs up, we're doing great"?
You have to fully disclose certain categories of the financials,
like revenue and profits.
Exactly, exactly.
Tax rate.
And one of the things that Apple is transitioning into is cloud services and other services from which they're making tons of money, hand over fist. And you can't really count that very well. It's not like iPhone sales. The other thing is that they're facing increasing competition on the unit sales, but nobody can touch Apple on the amount of profit they can gain from any sort of tablet or phone or anything like that. So they're very happy to talk about the money they're making. Right. And they don't want to talk about the number of phones. They can talk about
cost of sales. They could talk about sales. But they could talk about
and
profit.
they were trying to say that margins are all that matters, right? That's the new metric that they're trying to transition to. But like even the analogy that they came up with on that call, where it's like, well, it doesn't matter what's in the shopping cart when you go to the checkout line in the grocery store or whatever. Like in my mind, that kind of argues exactly against the point they were trying to make. Like, as Leo's saying, as an investor, I kind of want to know what's in the shopping cart.
Yeah. How well is that iPhone selling? And it's completely coincidental, but iPhone sales went up 0%.
This is it. We've reached peak smartphone now. Everyone who was going to buy a smartphone has got a smartphone.
But margins went up because they charge
because you pay the Cupertino idiot tax.
Yeah. Globally, though, smartphone sales overall.
The Cupertino idiot tax.
Okay, I thought you said that.
Is that related to Moron Gate, the idiot tax? Globally, smartphone sales on a units sold perspective have declined 6%.
And that's just saturation,
4 quarters,
right?
Exactly. So Apple is doing better than average in terms by breaking even, by leveling out, and they're just figuring out how to charge more and more and more. And that's, I guess, a great business if they can keep doing it.
But that's the problem. They're charging more and more and more, and I'm not seeing that much innovation coming out of Apple in the last 5 years.
The problem with not knowing how many unit sales is you don't get the specific metric on the ecosystem. You don't know how attractive the iPhone is as an app development platform if you don't know how many people have iPhones. You know what I'm saying? It's great that Apple's making a ton of money on iPhones, but if they're selling fewer of them, or if it's in decline, or if it doesn't compare well to Samsung or something like that, that tells you a lot about the future of the company, the ecosystem, the developers, and all that kind of stuff.
I'll give you an example. Here's Jason Snell at Six Colors does these great pie charts, and he's got iPhone, which is 59%, iPad, Mac. But
only
next
has 4 colors, by the way.
Yeah. Next time, he won't need as many colors because the wedge will just be this.
Yeah.
Sales of stuff, Mac, iPhone, iPad, all looks like this. In other words, we're going to stop breaking that stuff out. And I think that's kind of, I don't know. I'm not investing in Apple. But I think that if you're covering Apple, I think it's important. For instance, one of the conversations, and we'll get to this in a second, we're going to have is future of the Mac compared to the future of iOS devices. Yep. And I think that the breakdown is relevant there. I do want to point out one thing. You see this services 16%. Apple doesn't break that out either. For instance, is that from app sales? Is that from Apple Music? Well, I'll tell you where a big chunk of it is. From Google.
Yeah.
Turns out Google report. Okay, this is according to Fortune. In 2018, will pay Apple $9 billion which is, by the way, about what their quarterly results are for services. So a quarter of their total revenue just to be the default search engine in Safari. And Business Insider says next year it will be $12 billion.
Yeah.
That's not, if you say my services, they're doing great, but then if people know it's not that you're selling a lot of music or you're selling a lot of apps, it's that Google's giving you huge bank just to be that little box on Safari.
And the reason they're doing that is because Apple has a perfect monopoly in the world of iOS devices, and they get away with not being considered a monopoly because smartphone sales are only a fraction of smartphones. No, the Android ecosystem is the market. The iOS ecosystem is that market, and Apple has a perfect monopoly, 100% of market share in the iOS market. And that's why they can say, Google, if you want to be anywhere near the iPhone, then you're going to give us $12 billion next year.
Right. Yeah.
That's the most brutal monopoly in history, as far as I can tell.
And also that the data that Apple users provide will be very, very valuable. I mean, they're not giving this away, not expecting to make a profit out of it. You know, if you're buying an piece of Apple kit, you're used to paying over the odds for technology.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Google's must be making more than $9 billion.
Yeah, right. I know. I mean, they're not a charity.
I mean, they're doing it because it's profitable for them. Yeah. So you think it's information beyond just the fact that you're using Google to do search on Safari on the iPhone, and it's taking you to a Google page that has Google advertisements on it? There's more than that? You think Apple's leaking information?
No, Apple's actually always been very strong on not leaking information like that.
I would hope not.
But at the same time, they do have, you say, this lockdown on the iOS market, and the iOS market is tremendously valuable to advertisers because, you know, they are generally
That's the other thing, right?
The most well-off people on the planet, and they're willing to pay over the odds for what they want.
Where the spenders are.
They're dumb enough to spend them over $1,000 for a phone.
Well, I didn't say that.
It's a perfect customer.
There must be dumb enough to buy my product, that's for sure. Yeah. Apple revenue, $62.9 billion. Like almost billion. This is 3 months.
Down, I think it was something like 138 million a day for the last year.
Yeah. Profit $14 billion in 3 months. But you see, it's very cyclical, isn't it? And those peaks, if you're watching, you'll see these peaks, and that's the first quarter, Q1.
Yeah, that's the results from the holiday period.
Q1 is January, February, March for Apple.
They're on a weird schedule.
Yeah, it's not. They're not. Their fiscal year is different.
The big ones are holidays.
Yeah,
holiday season coming into December. So that's,
Q1 is okay. That's it. Yep. It's October, November, December. It's when the new iPhone has come out. The new iPad has come out, and now people are buying it. So you really don't see the reason you see flat sales in this quarter, the fourth quarter of the fiscal year, is because the new iPhones are barely recorded there. They had just come out. Yep. So really that's flat demand because everybody's waiting for the next generation.
Yep.
We won't see it, but there'll likely be one of those big spikes next quarter as people buy the new iPhone XS, XS Max, XR, 8, 9, 7,
so many
6,
phones now.
5.
I don't know. I think, Brian, you may have a point on this, but it just seemed like Apple's going back to we were talking about this in the office. It seems like they're going back to the Scully days where they sort of a plethora of models but no real innovation. And
well, I mean, this is bleeding into the conversation about the Mac thing, but when I was on here last time, we were talking about the confusion just about the names for phones, but now the confusion about if I wanted to buy a 13-inch laptop, I think there's 18 different SKUs now. There you have the MacBook Air that is in the name. It seems like it's the thin and lightest, but it's not the lightest.
There's one that's got no air at all.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got the MacBook, which costs significantly more than what is probably the better laptop in the lineup. Like, I have no idea what to think of that.
Well, Brian,
this is one thing that Steve Jobs did when he came back to Apple.
That's exactly.
He took those crazy SKUs and he's simplified. They're going the opposite direction.
Another way to look at that is that only Steve Jobs made Apple not a regular company in that way, because companies want to have a specific device for every possible segment of the market.
Yeah.
And Steve Jobs, his whole perspective was, no, here's the phone. It's called the iPhone. Buy it. There's only one. You can only have, and that was kind of his mindset.
Which is more appropriate? I mean, maybe Steve was wrong. Maybe the modern Apple should have. Oh, God, I don't even know how many different models of phones they sell. They still sell the 7, right? They still sell the 8.
I believe so.
They still sell the 10. They still sell the 10S, 10S
Well,
Max,
this was the point. This was the point I made on the show last time. Was that I really strongly believe next year they're going to go to. It's going to be the iPhone 2020. And because I said, car makers figured this out a long time ago. Like there used to be a Model 10, a Model, whatever. But so next year. We'll release it in 2019, but we're going to call it the iPhone 2020, and that's going to be what we're going to do.
You're the internet historian, Brian. You know who else did that? Microsoft. Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows 2000, and then they stopped.
Yeah, no one ever mentions ME anymore.
And they went back to numbers.
Brush that under the carpet.
They went to numbers, and then they started skipping numbers, too.
And then they stopped. Yeah. Oh, You really wonder how these. I don't know what the right answer is, but you just wonder. Nevertheless, iPhone year-over-year revenue, despite the fact that sales were flat, year-over-year revenue up 29%.
Yeah,
that's the number in a nutshell.
Having nice high margins and continually rising prices.
Does this mean that people are willing to spend more than $1,000 for a smartphone?
Yes.
Unfortunately, so.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but such is life.
There's a lot of expectation that people spend even more and more and more. I just wrote a piece about the coming wave of flexible screen devices that are coming out. There's already one that's
I saw some video of this week. Yeah.
And Samsung's working on one. A bunch of them are working on that. But the Samsung flexible screen device, it's basically a kind of a flip phone type of thing, but this just one continuous screen, is expected to sell for $2,000 for a smartphone.
Yeah.
So they think
it is your computer, right? It's your. And let's not forget that Apple's computers, if you include the iPad, are all much more expensive, and close to $2,000. Right. So is your phone it's your primary computer for most people?
Is it? I mean,
I don't know, not for work.
It's the one that
I think you're the wrong guys to talk to.
Yeah,
all of you are
yeah.
writers. You need different kinds of devices.
Yeah.
But generally, I think, I don't know, look at your family and friends.
And definitely outside the Western world.
You don't see people sitting down to computers and a desk anymore at home.
No, but at Starbucks you do.
But they're trying to work.
They bring laptops.
If you think about the, my mom always hates it when I do this. Think about my mom.
Yeah, I know.
She goes on the internet 50 times a day, but she's not. She goes on her laptop maybe once a week tops. Right.
Yeah.
It's like she's on her phone all the time.
I think that's true for me too. Really.
Yeah, in terms of actual time spent online, I can see the phone being the primary one, but that's just really about consumption. If you actually want to produce anything, then you've got to spend time on a computer and a desktop.
her production is looking at pictures, taking pictures, responding to pictures, commenting on pictures, doing social media. So again, she's retired. She doesn't have to do work in the capital W sense, but all of the things that she needs to do, her phone can do for her.
Yeah.
I'm looking at, so Apple really gives you this information now. I'm looking at screen time on my iPhone. Average on all devices, that's I guess iPad too. I don't know. It's all iOS 12 devices. 6 hours and 13 minutes a day. That's a lot more than I spent on a desktop or laptop.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time. I think some of that's Pokemon Go. Yeah. 19 hours is Pokemon Go.
Still playing. Wow.
That's sad. That's so sad. I spent 2 hours and 7 minutes in settings. The hell? I must have passed out.
Wow.
An hour and a half in the clock. Come on, man. An hour and a half in the Apple Store.
For the day to end.
Yeah, clock watching. Maybe I don't want to know this information. Is that possible? I don't want to know. I don't. Notice though, no social media on here because I don't have any social media.
Right.
And that you add that to the mix, and that's why Pokemon Go went through the roof. I got nothing else to do. At least you're really good for my Pokemon Go.
At least you're not wasting your time anymore, Leo. It's fantastic.
The good news is with Pokemon Go, I'm walking around at least.
Yes.
I'm not noticing anything. I'm walking in traffic. I'm hitting trees, but I'm at least getting some fresh
catching
air.
them all.
Yeah, got to catch them all. So this is interesting. Remember, we just told you that Google spent $9 billion last year, was going to spend $12 billion this year on service, and that goes into Apple services revenue. Services revenue is going up. This is a big thing for Apple, but see, if you don't break it out, it sounds like, Apple Music must be doing really well, or the App Store must be making them a ton of money.
But remember, okay, all right, and I'm playing devil's advocate here because I think that this is silly, especially if you're an Apple investor. But everyone knows that, like we said at the very beginning, Mike said it, we've reached peak smartphone. Everyone knew it was coming, right? So again, they if you think about what they did, they were blatant about it. We all know that we're going to reach this ceiling where, if we sell 10 million more iPhones next quarter, does that really matter? Because it's not going to lead to a trend where all of a sudden we're going to sell 100 million in 2 years. So forget about that. Just worry about our margins and our average selling price.
Actually, that's what Luca Maestri, the CFO, was saying, basically. And I think you're right.
So then the second thing is what is the watchword on Wall Street right now? It's all about everybody turning something into a service. Everyone wants this subscription revenue sort of stuff. So actually, the thing that investors should be concerned about or pissed off about would be, okay, so Apple wants to say, don't worry about our cash cow. We're going to be delivering these iPhones all the time. Worry about our growth rate. The way we're going to deliver growth to the stock is by the services stuff, is by getting people to subscribe $50 a month, $100 a month, $200 a month. And that's where we're going to become a $2 trillion company. So then if I was an Apple investor, then I would be I actually wouldn't care about the iPhone breakout. I would care about breaking out the services.
I agree. If you say that's the future of Apple, and Apple even says that, I agree. You want to know, and they're hiding that. But I have to say, the minute you say I'm not going to break out numbers for sales, the first thing that leaps to people's mind is, oh, well, you're obviously not doing that well.
Well, I think one of the other things is that Apple has been facing a future transition that is going to be very difficult for them to pull off, even for Apple. And that is the transition to getting mainstream users to use iOS instead of Mac OS for their desktop.
That's the conversation we're about to have.
And it doesn't. iPad sales look terrible, but I think the future of the desktop is an iPad this big.
I agree.
And
when he says this big, he's pointing at my 37-inch Surface Studio.
That's right.
Which could be an iPad.
if it was an iPad, and if iOS was closer to being something you could really use as a desktop computer, this is where they want to take us. They've been threatening to do this for a decade. They have to do it in the future, but it doesn't look good for them to go in that direction when iPad sales are so flaccid.
Well, this is my contention that Apple event was all about.
Yes,
we're going to get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Great panel. Nice to have you here, Brian McCullough, author of How the Internet Happened, From Netscape to the iPhone, host of the Tech Meme Ride Home at techmeme.com. He's got a very nice Time Magazine covers
collection. Yes.
Very, very good. All the best. All the hits. Mike Elgan doesn't have that because he's never home.
That's right.
He lives in Airbnbs most of the time. He is Elgan.com and, of course, digitalnomad.com. Great to have you.
Thank you so much.
And Iain Thomson of the register.co.uk. He's great.
For the moment, yes.
He's great. I'm going to start talking with a Scots accent because I've been watching The Bodyguard, the BBC show The Bodyguard on Netflix. Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's great.
Just, Leah, I know you travel a lot. Don't try that in Glasgow.
Don't do that.
Night,
because
please.
they'll beat the crap out of me. Our show today brought to you by something super hot. Hot cloud storage from Wasabi. Data storage is, you were just saying, we're moving to the cloud. Services are the future. IBM just spent $34 billion on Red Hat, a services company. The cloud is everything these days, and data storage in the cloud is a huge concern. According to estimates, there'll be 163 zettabytes in the cloud by the year 2025. That's 21 zeros. 163 zettabytes. So if you're going to the cloud, or you're doing a hybrid solution, or you're thinking about moving your data up to the private or public cloud, you've got to find out about Wasabi. Clearly, being able to efficiently and affordably store the data is critical. Did I say affordable? I did. Wasabi was created by two of my great friends, David Friend, literally that's his name, who started Carbonite, and his buddy, Jeff Flowers. They created Wasabi because of the things they learned at Carbonite. In particular, they had a patented, unique technique for writing directly to the disk on hard drives that's going to save you a ton of money. They lay data on the disk sequentially, not in blocks, and that results in storage that's 80% cheaper and 6 times faster than S3. One tier of service, too, unlimited free egress. No, you don't have to think about that because it's not going to cost you anything. It's awesome. And 11 nines of data durability. 11 nines. Secure. In fact, in some cases, more secure than your on-prem storage. HIPAA compliant, FINRA compliant, CJIS compliant. They don't charge you for egress. They don't charge you for API calls. Super fast uploads. The fastest possible downloads. 6 times faster than S3. Data center redundancy. There's one other thing I really like that I think is unique to them. Immutable storage. You can designate some of your data or all of it as immutable. It's protected against accidental or malicious deletions or modifications. No chance of ransomware getting into your cloud and corrupting your data. No chance of fat-fingered employees deleting your data. It's protected. And if you've got to move petabytes to the cloud fast and easily, take a look at the Wasabi Ball. It allows you to migrate data simply, quickly, and fully securely. I understand. You're looking. All I ask is you add one more name to your list. WASABI, wasabi.com. If you click that free trial link, we're going to get you unlimited storage for a month. So you can try it. You can verify all of these claims. I think you'll see this is the solution for you. And man, the boss will love you when you come there and say, hey boss, it's 6 times faster and 80% cheaper. Wasabi, WASABI, wasabi.com. Use the offer code TWIT to try it free. Unlimited for a month. That is an amazing story. And one of these days we'll get David and Jeff on and we'll talk to them. 88, what am I saying the phone number for? You can't call. I was going to say 8888 Ask Leah. No, that was just habitual. This is Twit. That's what we're doing. And we're talking about the Apple event on Tuesday, which, by the way, cost us a copyright strike on YouTube. Wow. I don't know yet how that's going to come out. For I think 12 years we've been streaming whenever Apple streams an event, or Google or Microsoft streams an event, we rebroadcast their stream with our commentary on top of it. That seems to me to be fair use because it's for use in commentary, so people can understand more than just watching the stream.
Basically free advertising for Apple as well. Right.
And I don't think Apple should mind. However, and I don't know if it's Apple or Google, but we got taken down during the stream.
Wow.
And we're still down. So Twit Live is off right now because of that.
Wow.
We've appealed it, of course, and I do hope that we'll get back on Twit Live. But we fortunately have other streamers, Mixer and Twitch, Ustream, other place you can watch. But so if you just, a little programming note, if you can't see it on YouTube Live right now, that's why. But we did watch it at 7 a.m. here because they were in Brooklyn. And
right, literally, I could throw a baseball up the hill.
Oh, did you go?
Right up there. No, I begged on the podcast. Apple, next time you do an event in Brooklyn, I could have done a city bike and been there in 2 minutes.
Oh. I'm just going to say, Brian, from my personal experience, begging does not help.
Yeah, I know.
I've been to an Apple event since 2009.
Yeah.
That's all right. I don't mind. In fact, I thought the best thing we could do is to stream it and comment on it. And I think that that's a valuable thing to do. But I'm sitting there. So first of all, we already knew everything they were going to say. There were no surprises. No. So all you're watching at this point is for little details and maybe trying to get some flavor. It's basically Kremlinology for what's going on. What is Apple's positioning? Because that's what these events are most at. You could read a press release that gives you the specs, the prices, the availability, and you'd be done. But what you're watching, at least what I'm watching on stage very carefully, is the nuance of what Apple's saying. They started by talking about Macs, which first was as a Mac fan, was very gratifying. I thought, hallelujah, well, little Mac love. They announced a new MacBook Air with, frankly, an anemic processor.
Yeah,
but, okay.
Very poor spec.
Very poorly spec'd and very inexpensive, $1199. We were hoping it would be sub 1,000. It's not. They do have a sub 1,000 MacBook Air. It's the old one. And then they announced a Mac Mini, which with lots of ports. We bought both. We're gonna use that Mac Mini.
Also more expensive.
Well, $100 more than the base model last time, which was, let's face it, 4 years ago. Last time, I think the dollar was worth less. But nevertheless. Then they go to the iPads, and suddenly everything's shiny, bright, new, faster. Yeah. And I realized if you had started with the iPads and went to the Macs, it would have been like, oh man, how depressing is this?
But also, it's the essential message they're pushing, which for me was, you will buy an iPad whether you like it or not, and we're going to price and spec our systems to do it.
It felt very much to me like the end of the line on the Apple II. Yeah. You remember that probably, Mike, where they had a conference. Apple had a conference in San Francisco. Apple II Forever. They had a song, Apple II Forever, and they killed it like 6 months later. and it was very clear to me that this is basically the end of the line for macOS.
They emphasized we're giving them what they want. Some people, for some reason, like our laptops, so we
don't get it. We don't know why.
Yeah, and for some reason they like the Mac Mini, so here's another Mac Mini. But now let's talk about the future of computing, the iPad. And it was really clear.
With the A12X Bionic, which is faster than the MacBook Pro.
I predict that after all the benchmarking is done, the fastest computer that Apple makes is going to be the new iPad.
Yeah, I can quite.
Well, and the graphics too. Like people a guy I know that hasn't had an iPad since like the second iPad. It was the graphics performance that he's like, all right, I'm getting one.
Yeah, they're doing like an 8-core CPU, a 7-core GPU. They even have a machine learning core, dedicated machine learning core. It seems to me that all of the real innovation that's happening at Apple is happening in those chipsets.
When I saw that the new Apple Pencil magnetically sticks to the iPad, they're copying the Pixelbook, and then they're like, and then it charges through the. I'm like, really?
Yeah, that was
Pixelbook's pencil or pen or whatever you call it has a quadruple A battery. Did you know this existed?
I didn't until I got one of them. Yeah.
What's that? The size of a baby's pinky?
It's tiny. Yes,
baby's something. What?
Pinky.
Yeah, something.
Come on.
It's very small.
Yes. I have standards. Not many, admittedly, but
so wasn't just me, because I love macOS and I want to keep using macOS. Apple also had AutoCAD on stage, and they said very clearly this has the desktop AutoCAD engine in it. At Adobe's conference a couple of weeks ago, they announced Adobe Photoshop, basically all the features of desktop on the iPad.
But this comes back to what Mike was saying earlier. They want iOS because it's a nice little walled garden that they control absolutely and completely and can monetize that, whereas macOS is messy, other people playing it. And, for all the talk...
Well, furthermore, they're also beholden to Intel, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons that Apple's Macintosh line has been held back is that Intel is stymied. Can't seem to do a 10-nanometer chip. Apple was very clear. We've got the first 7-nanometer chip in production, the A12X Bionic.
Yeah.
I feel like Apple would love to get out from under Intel.
Yeah.
Even for the Macs.
Well, Intel's got massive problems at the moment. Their work on 10 nanometer is completely stalled. Cobalt, which they were trying out as a method of getting around it, hasn't worked. At the same time, other chip companies are eating their breakfast. And they've got major supply problems on the server side because they've got 99% of the market and people are still buying those chips and they can't produce them fast enough. So, I mean, and plus they've lost their CEO in rather unusual circumstances. So, yeah, Intel just seems to be flailing at the moment. I don't blame Apple for trying to dump them.
The other thing is that they're grappling with a new generation of people who, like you were saying earlier, only want to use their phones. They grew up with touch devices. They only remember touch devices. There are lots of kids these days who never used a mouse before. They think it's kind of a weird contraption from the Victorian era or something like that. And let's face it, this is how change really happens: is old people die and young people are born, and they basically they're thinking, okay, in 20 years or 10 years, how are we going to get today's iPhone, 20-year-old iPhone users to buy a really expensive second computer for their desk? And it's got to be something that's going to be iPhone-like. Otherwise they're not going to buy it. That's obviously
are people going to do that, or are they just going to have the phone?
I think
more and more we're seeing things like Microsoft's continuity, Intel's I can't remember what they call it, not Samsung's little device where the phone becomes a desktop.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think is a wonderful model.
Yeah, which
Or these
HP
foldables.
tried to do with Windows Mobile, but unfortunately died on its backside because
that was
Windows
continuity,
Mobile was terrible.
Yeah. Augmented reality is going to be a big thing that people use while they're sitting at a desk, I think.
So the screen will be virtual. It'll be imaginary. It'll be projected on your eyeballs instead of sitting in front of it.
That's part of it. I do think there's a future for giant iPad-like devices and for
the Surface Studio will be an iPad someday.
Exactly. And I think also there'll be things like office windows will be TVs like that one, giant screens that can be, so I think there are going to be screens everywhere, on your face, on the wall, on the desktop surface will be a screen. But, this whole touch, it's all going to be iOS-like. It's all going to be touch gestures and that sort of thing.
So, but Apple has a couple of issues. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I was going to say that's fine and great, but there could be a fairly long interim here before that reality comes. Yes. So the question is, and this has been debated, I'm not the first one to bring this up, but at what point do they risk? Apple's always been the company of creatives and high-end professionals. It's the thing that kept Apple alive as a company in the late 90s. What's the tipping point where those people have to go away and go to someone else? And also, what is the tipping point where Apple is fine with that?
Well, Brian, wasn't that the point of the event? The point is,
that's what I'm saying.
Let's see what's in the making. It was about creativity. It's a Brooklyn Academy of Music and the Opera House. It was you create with an iPad. Yeah. You can create with, but it's not.
However,
so you got the keyboard issue, and somebody told me that kids don't care if they type on glass, which I find hard to believe. Maybe they won't type ever at all.
But that's what I'm saying, Leo, is the interim of the next 5 or 10 years. Look at, and I find it fascinating, look at the recent Surface events and look at all the things that Microsoft has been producing in hardware. I feel like Microsoft is super aware of this too, and they're ready to pounce and grab this market and say, we'll take the creatives if Apple doesn't want them.
But their solution was to make a hybrid. A desktop operating system that has touch.
The Surface Books and all of that stuff. Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know, I think, at least certainly with Windows 8, there was a horrible mistake.
Oh, yes.
Maybe they've come out of that hole with Windows 10, but I feel like you can't really hybridize. Apple clearly said, no, we're never going to put touch on our Macs. We're going to make a clear distinction. To me, the biggest problem is not creatives. I think if you look at an iPad Pro nowadays, a lot of artists, designers, even video editors are going to be attracted to it. But the biggest problem is developers. There's no good development path on an iPad Pro. You at best is SSH out to a terminal somewhere.
But also, I mean, the laptop has stayed a functional bit of kit because it serves a very useful purpose. I can't use an iPad Pro on my knees on the train or in a conference hall or
You can.
Well, no. If you're a short ass like me, then the
short what?
A short ass.
Okay.
Someone who
what does that mean?
Someone who is compact and bijou.
Okay.
And so,
you're tiny. Well, you're not that small.
Nah, about 5'6".
You can't put your iPad. Look who's using an iPad right now, Mike Elgan.
Yeah, but
do you have trouble with that on your knees?
Trouble.
Demo.
Not nearly as comfortable as my Chromebook.
So
my Pixelbook.
a laptop would be better.
Yeah, it's nice and stable. But I think again, this is one of the things Apple does. You can easily do that with a case. You can build an iPad into a whole
they're
thing.
now selling a folio case that is essentially a keyboard.
Yeah.
Turns it into a Surface style.
That's not good for a lap either.
But you've got to have a rigid hinge that keeps the screen up and a solid keyboard.
Yeah.
And tablets just can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had the same problem with the Surface.
Okay.
And the same
Mary Jo
problem.
Foley says it's not lappable.
Right.
Is that the
Yeah,
term?
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
So and developers need tools. Now, Kevin, your son Kevin worked at Tinker, which is a way to teach kids how to write software. Do you feel like the iPad could be used for like real developers, or no? It's a toy.
I think, and also just from experience in schools, it's more of a toy.
Yeah.
They're not.
But I mean, Swift Playgrounds is amazing. Clearly, Apple is trying to get young people to think of the iPad as a development tool.
What are they actually making? It would be
Toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a big issue. That's going to be a big question mark for anybody who wants to code. I mean, I bought the new 12.9, which is the size they say of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper for a screen that is the same size as a MacBook Air,
And almost as thin.
And almost as thin. And everything, I think most of what I want to do, I could do on there except for coding.
Yep.
And so that I might experiment with just doing as you've done and live the iPad.
They're
life.
chipping away at it. I mean,
they're chipping away, but it's not.
The biggest leap they made was adding a file system to the iPad to iOS, where now you can just download folders and stuff like that. And they're chipping away at it, and they have to tackle the development issue. They have to tackle
because somebody has to write the software for the iOS devices.
The biggest thing is if you have a keyboard, you also want a trackpad or a mouse.
So they keep making the Mac for this narrowing niche,
aging,
and they make it just because we got to have people write software for the iOS.
I mean, they have to look. They act like they are the people who determine what people do, but that's not true. They keep waiting for people to be nudged over in a big way. And people are hanging onto their laptops and their desktops, and they're not really moving to iPad. And if they do get an iPad, they hang on to it for a decade or whatever. I mean, people don't refresh them either. No. So that's another problem.
And then there's the other issue, which is a lot of people buy iPads with great hopes, and it ends up being a way to watch Netflix.
Yeah,
exactly.
A way overpriced, by the way.
Yes.
Way to watch Netflix. So this may not bode all that well for Apple in the long run. Look at this quarterly iPad sales. This is, again, from 6 Colors. That's basically a downtrend.
And this comes back to what Brian was saying, because if you get rid of the laptop and the power users, what have you got? You've basically got a bunch of consumers who are willing to pay over the odds for a tablet, which any other manufacturer can produce.
It becomes a fashion product. It becomes like Burberry coats.
That's what they want. I mean, that's why they're in the watch business.
They're big margins.
Right.
Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, because all of this talk about future computing and we're not going to have – again, the reality is go into any office, be it an architect's office, an accountant's office, anything – I was in Bloomberg doing stuff for the book. It's all, you still need a keyboard. Now, Apple, granted, doesn't have that market. It's still a Windows PC market. But at the same time, if it's just, but again, like it was what we were saying earlier about the phone usage. If it's just for media, then that's fine. However, that's still ignoring an entire segment of a computing market that is still that still requires machines to be updated. And if Apple just wants to walk away from that was my original question. Maybe my original question is not are they willing to walk away from creatives? When is the point when they're willing to walk away from the Mac? Okay, that's probably the bottom line question.
If we're walking into offices, let's walk into an office with Terminator vision where we have insight into which of the devices people are using were profitable for the companies that sold them. So you go into an enterprise or something like that. Yeah, there are keyboards everywhere and screens everywhere, but the money is being made from services. That's right. The biggest thing, not from those devices. And people are using phones, which if they're iPhones, those are massively profitable. If they're Android phones, they're break even. Exactly. So it's not really, from Apple's perspective, they don't care about having every device be an Apple device. They're looking at which are the profitable devices And that ain't laptops and it ain't desktops.
So that's a good point. They can kind of not worry about it. They don't have to have a dog in this hunt. But I do think for those of us who cover this and are interested in this, it's an interesting question. Not an Apple question, but just an interesting question. What is the future of computing going to look like?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are we going to? I mean, how long are we going to continue to see Bloomberg-style laptops and desktops on the desk? I mean, how long?
At least a decade.
Until we can get virtual reality glasses and dictate?
Yeah. I mean, virtual
dictation's not going to cut it.
AI virtual assistants are going to be increasingly guiding us in the same way. The
next generation of writers, we're too old, but the next generation of writers, will they write with a keyboard?
Yes.
Yes. You have to.
They will, because they're specialists. But I think most people, it's going to be a lot like driving. Okay, like you see that we're not going to go from completely manual cars.
Yeah, but it's
to
likely that our
completely
kids will not have to drive.
Exactly, but there's this transitionary period that began a decade ago where it's like incredible driver assistance technology keep coming online. Elon Musk says you can be able to drive your car with your phone. You know, it's like remotely.
I saw a video of a guy using Tesla Summon to repark so that he could avoid getting a ticket.
Yeah.
He'd look out the window of his high rise and go, and move the parking.
What could go wrong?
That seems like a bad idea. But I have Summon on mine. I've never used it. I don't dare. I don't mind. I'm not going to let the car drive itself.
But I think computers will become self-driving in the way cars have become self-driving. It'll be gradual, but the professional drivers and the professional writers will still be doing everything.
My daughter, she wrecked her last car. I said, I'm not giving you another car. It's cheaper for you to take Uber.
Yeah.
And she's perfectly happy. She doesn't want to drive.
Yeah.
And I would guess our 15-year-old who is not anxious to get a driver's license, I could conceively, you'd have to live in a metro, obviously.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
But if you lived in the city, I could see you.
Do you remember
have a car.
When we were 15, how intense the desire to have a driver's license and a car was?
God, yeah.
And kids these days are like, whatever, I'll just take
I don't need
Uber,
one.
whatever.
Yeah.
Kids these days.
It is very geographic. I mean, if you live in the countryside in Indiana, you're not taking an Uber.
Yeah. No, you have to drive, and it's one of those things. Plus the lack of public transport in most.
So is it going to be kind of like that, where there are people who never use a computer as we know it, and then there'll be this niche of pros who will be using keyboards?
I think so.
It's kind of like the analogy I'd draw is. We had a youngster in the office, and this was about 10 years ago, and I just went into command line mode. I'm doing a quick directory search, dr/p, and they looked at me like I'd done black magic because they've been raised with GUIs the whole time, and it's going to be the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think 20 years down the line, if you show somebody a thing like this, they're going to be like, wow, granddad, where did he get that?
You can also see Apple's ambitions when they compare the new iPad. They say it's as fast as an Xbox One S.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if they're going to get any AAA titles on the iPad, but clearly they'd like developers to start thinking
Apple's
about it.
always wanted to be a gaming platform, and it's never managed it.
Yeah. Mac, certainly not.
No.
You could probably say the iPhone is the king of casual gaming.
Yes.
It's probably bought many. I mean, more people play Candy Crush Soda than play Fallout 76.
If you're after the gaming market for the kind of people who will spend $3,000 to $4,000 on a gaming PC, that's
but even when there was talk of the Apple TV was going to be their entree into doing gaming, and they just kind of let that wither on the vine.
They don't always
completely.
succeed.
Yeah.
This one I'm going to download immediately. Diablo Immortal. It is basically Diablo on the iPad, and that's a game because it's kind of top down. The mechanics of it lend itself well to a touch environment. That would make sense. I don't see any first person shooter. You're not going to have Call of Duty on the or are you?
I think you are. I think you are. I mean, again, I have believed for a long time that Apple wants to get into the giant screen tablet business. So
you really think they're going to do something
that
like
and
this?
Bigger? I really do. And once you have, so imagine a device for the home that's like a 41-inch screen, and it's essentially an iPad that is also voice controlled and all that kind of stuff. That would be fantastic. For Call of Duty and things like that. It'll be fantastic for all kinds of uses, but essentially it'll be an iPad.
My guess is the future, and all the companies are investing in of gaming is server side streaming, in which case it doesn't matter what device you're using. You might even have the entire game machine in the controller and play it on your big screen TV because you don't need all that horsepower. You just need a connection to the internet that's reliable.
Yeah.
I think that's where at least companies think that we're going with that.
Yeah.
It's going to be fascinating because that's so unproven because of the latency issue.
Yeah.
Like we're going to find out in the next 2 years if they can solve that latency issue, then like gaming as we know it is going to be completely different.
5G
Yeah.
is going to change a lot.
But maybe
I think
also
5G is
the
massively
hardcore gamers, just like the hardcore writers, and the hardcore coders, and the hardcore designers will end up using old-fashioned console.
Absolutely.
There's still people who have turntables
Yeah.
on sand.
Vinyl sales are actually up from last year.
Up from last year means up from nothing. It doesn't mean
yes, but they're rising. They're rising again.
They're doubling every year. 2, 4, 8. It's amazing. So there are still stereophiles, even though if you look at the trajectory from the 50s where you had stereo magazines and you had people talking about their RMS distortion.
Yeah.
And now you don't even have equipment to play back music.
I think
you don't have a dedicated music player in
the
your
way
house.
to look at this is that we grew up with technology. You know, my first computer was a Commodore 64. And we have this mindset where, like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to compute. I'm going to do computing.
Right.
I'm going to use a device.
That's what's changing.
Yes. Technology is going to be absolutely everywhere. It's just going to be
do
life.
computing anymore. You just do life.
Exactly.
Actually, right.
I don't know. I think if you look at Magic Leap as an example, of why people are overestimating quite how quickly this is going to come. Magic Leap have been touting this fantasy for the last 2 or 3 years, burning through cash. We've got other players on the market. I mean, I love the HoloLens. It was a great toy, but I couldn't conceivably sit down in the office, put that thing on my head and get any work done. I think there's easily another 5 to 6 years before we get anywhere close to having that kind of AR experience as a matter of fact, because as you say, there's also the latency, there's the bandwidth issue, and battery life.
Okay.
Because you've got 6 years ago, it was 2012, which seems like it was yesterday. So I think that 6 years is going to come pretty quickly, and we don't know what other startups are going to emerge in that time. And think about all the companies that emerged in the last 6 years. It's going to be pretty fascinating. What we do know is that augmented and mixed reality is going to be a very compelling thing, and I think it's going to be extremely ubiquitous and multiple levels. We're going to have low. It's just going to be like Ready Player One, where our hero in that movie had this really low quality experience until he started winning money, and then he got the really nice one. It's going to be like that, but augmented and mixed reality is going to be absolutely everywhere for almost everyone within a decade.
Decade, yeah, that's fair. But
according to, I can't believe this. According to Nielsen Music, Americans purchased 14.3 million vinyl albums last year.
Yeah. No, my brother-in-law works at Universal, and in fact, there's a thriving market in people. They're printing actual vinyl records and then framing them, and so Pet Sounds and the famous, and framing them and selling them that way. These records never even get they never even get played. They're put on the wall.
So they're antiques.
That was my
It's
youth.
like an antique.
Yeah.
I did that when I was in college. I would go to garage sales and get old 60s and 70s albums and put them on the wall. So, and I didn't have a record player.
There you go. You don't need to listen to
them.
Now
you do Time magazines.
Exactly. eBay's wonderful.
Well, it was a very expensive Tuesday for me because I bought one of everything. Actually, in some cases, two, because my wife and Megan bought some too. So my credit card
expensive
buckled under the...
Yeah, you could just say, listen, we've just spent all this money with you. Put the stream back on.
If you do want to go to Apple events, just tell them how much you spend at the Apple store.
That's the funny thing is I'm not unique. And that's really where Apple's strength is that people, doesn't matter what Apple releases, people buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy it.
Exactly. But, did you hear Bloomberg were banned from the event this time round?
So that's really interesting because Bloomberg, of course, is banned from the event because of their super micro story, which Tim Cook demanded a retraction.
Yeah.
Amazon protested with a little more teeth. They pulled all fourth quarter advertising. All fourth quarter advertising from Bloomberg.
Right.
Which is this quarter. Apple didn't invite them to the event.
Yeah, that'll show him.
And Mark Gurman, though, is probably pretty peeved because he's the
but
Apple guy.
Mark Gurman does not get his information from Apple events.
The last guy needs to go to an Apple event. He knows everything already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, the Apple events themselves are basically, and from
It's petty, though, to say, they did that to Gizmodo for years after the stolen iPhone incident.
yeah, we've been
It's
banned.
so petty.
We've been banned for over a decade.
For what? Do you know?
Take your pick. We've.
I don't know. They don't tell you. They don't send you a note saying, well, thanks to that stupid article, you're never going again.
A previous editor of mine worked on a Mac title before he came to the Reg, and then on his first day, he called up his main Apple contact and was just like, hi, I'm working at the Reg now. It's like, we can't talk to you. It's simple as that. You know.
I think I got temporarily on the blacklist when I wrote a scathing article about Steve Jobs, and then I was permanently put on the blacklist when I wrote an article about the blacklist, which I don't think they liked at all.
Yes,
It's
we
like
did that
Fight
as
Club.
Yeah, exactly.
First rule of
Double
blacklist
secret
is
probation.
You don't talk about blacklist. Dvorak, the same thing Microsoft used to do the same
Yeah.
thing. In fact, Dvorak swears he walked by an office at Microsoft and his name was on the list. There was a blackboard or a whiteboard with all the names of people who should not be talked to.
Well, yeah, and Google banned ZDNet for a year after they used Google to find out Eric Schmidt's personal details and posted it online. I mean, it happens sometimes, but it's generally the sign of a company that's got too big for its boots.
Actually, you know who used Google to a great effect? This is actually a dramatic story.
Yes.
The Iranians were peeved, you may remember, after we and Israel created malware.
Stuxnet?
The Stuxnet worm to take down their Siemens centrifuges that they were using to enrich uranium for atomic bombs. It was actually a great hack.
The hack of the millennium.
Yeah.
However, Stuxnet did leak out and then affect everybody
Yes,
else.
exactly.
Okay, so there was some collateral damage.
Blowback. Yeah.
They were so pissed at that they started to roll up. They try to roll up the CIA moles in their operation. They got one guy. This is a story from the Telegraph. By 2011, Iran had infiltrated the CIA spy network, and in May it announced they had broken up a 30-strong ring of American spies. But the interesting thing is, this happened because they got one guy who said, oh yeah, I've been communicating. This is actually Yahoo News gets the credit for this, which is kind of seems like an oxymoron, but no, it still exists. They caught one guy who said, yeah, I communicate with the CIA on this website. This was back in 2009.
Yep.
They found the website and they said, wow. And they used a Google search to identify, and sophisticated tools like and or.
I love that sophisticated Bayesian searches.
To figure out what the other sites were. And essentially, this cost the lives of agents in China
and Iran.
The Yahoo article starts in 2013. Hundreds of CIA officers, many working nonstops for weeks, scrambled to contain a disaster of global proportions, a compromise of the agency's internet-based covert communications system. Teams of CIA experts worked feverishly to take down and reconfigure the websites secretly used for these communications. Others managed operations to exfiltrate assets to safety. When this was going on, and the source was a former intelligence official, when this was going on, he said, or she said, it was all that mattered. The situation was catastrophic, all because of a Google search.
Well, that's not what it was. This is organizational incompetence. They had a system that was very early when hacking wasn't so intense and skillful, and everybody got complacent and used to it. It was easy to use, and nobody wanted to change it. It was a classic thing that happens in organizations. Any sort of security expert could have gone in, examined it, done audits, and said,
"This is a Google search."
And in fact, there was a military contractor who warned them about this in 2010 and carried on warning them about it, and then got fired for it.
It was never meant to be used long-term for people to talk to sources. The issue was that it was working too well for too long with too many people, but it was an elementary system. Everybody was using it far beyond its intentions.
It was like Lotus 123. Everybody started using it for email. Nobody remembers that.
Lotus 123
is too young.
I used to use Lotus 123, and I'm unusual in that I actually liked it.
Oh God!
It was.
I still have
know.
that slash key built into my finger. You slash. Or was that VisiCalc? That was VisiCalc.
Yeah,
that
but
goes even farther.
You're right.
back.
I mean, they were basically using an outdated communication system, and everyone was used to it, and it was comfortable. And wham, 30 agents dead.
Yeah.
You know, it's
just tragic.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that Iran, once they'd cracked this, then went to China and said, "Well, we
North
can show
Korea,
you how,
China,
we can show
Russia.
you how to do this. If we could do some arms sales right now, they'd be really quite pleasant."
Was there a tit for tat?
Apparently so, but I
Interesting.
don't think it's been confirmed. But China would give an awful lot to get the CIA.
Well,
intelligence
whoever that
briefings.
is working at Yahoo News, the last guy standing. Nice job.
Yeah.
Yahoo News, really?
I had the
a
same
division
thought.
of Oath.
I'm like, really? Wow. Are they? I haven't. Yeah.
You know,
Actual
Gizmodo's
article.
doing some really good stories too. All of a sudden, it's very confusing to me. I don't understand.
Nothing makes
it.
sense anymore.
Nothing makes sense anymore.
Remember when BuzzFeed was just about cats and listicles?
Let's take a break. Come back with more. Great panel today. Lots of fun. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. We forgot to put the Prosecco in the freezer. I was
darn
hoping
it.
we could have some. Is it too late? No, we got another little ways to go. You want to put? Just don't forget.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah,
set
if
a
you hear
timer.
an explosion from the freezer, we've
Yeah.
left it too
Because
long.
I'm in the mood. I don't know about you. I'm in the mood to get nude. Our show
Good
today.
to know. Good to know.
Okay,
Leo.
right.
I'm going to need that drink faster than.
Isn't that the song Tequila Makes
Vodka
Your
or
Clothes
tequila,
Fall Off?
please.
I think so.
Suddenly, I'm glad I'm over here.
From Brooklyn, Brian McCullough, the tech meme ride home.
Every day at 5 p.m.
Yes, sir. How's that doing? A daily news show. What a crazy concept.
Who would do that? Like you'd have to be
do that?
nuts to do something like that.
Our show today brought to you by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a house for a minute. Quicken Loans, #1 lender in the country, 8 years in a row, #1 in customer satisfaction, according to J.D. Power. That's a pretty strong statement, and I'm sure they'll get it again this year. But what's really cool is there's a nice side effect to that. As of December, they are now the largest home lender in the country, and I think that they go together. You make your customers happy. They're going to tell their friends. More people are going to use you. You're going to become #1 in every respect. I'll give you an example. They're very customer focused. They created Rocket Mortgage for us, people who don't want to go to the bank to get a home loan. People want to do it all online. Rocket Mortgage is so easy. You can actually apply for a loan on your phone, and it's fast too. They call it the power buying process. You go to rocketmortgage.com/twit and the number 2, rocketmortgage.com/twit2. You answer a few simple questions. Within, around 10 minutes, they're going to check your credit and give you the loans you qualify for. You choose the term, the rate, the down payment, and you've got pre-qualified approval. That's that fast. You can do it in an open house. Then step 2 kicks in. Within 24 hours in most cases, Quicken Loans will verify your income, your assets, and your credit, and then they give you a verified approval. There's even a button on the app that says print the letter. You can give it to your realtor. More importantly, you give it to the sellers. You move right to the front of the line. You've got the power of a cash buyer. The seller goes, oh, they got verified approval. They're good for the money. Great. You're going to beat out anybody who's saying, well, we'll buy the house if we get the loan. No, you don't have to. But step 3 is even better. Now, one of the things that's changed in borrowing, in the last couple of months is interest rates are going up. That means if it takes you a while to find a house, your loan could cost you a lot more as interest rates go out. So Quicken Loans protects you. Once you're verified, step 3, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. They lock up your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Your rate can't go up. Interest rates can go up, but your rate can't go up. If interest rates go down, your rate will go down. Either way, you win. I love that. It's exactly why America's largest mortgage lender, Quicken Loans, is its most beloved. To get started, it's simple. You go to rocketmortgage.com/twit2. Rate Shield approval is only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLS consumeraccess.org, number 3030. All you got to remember, rocketmortgage.com/twit and the number 2. We had a great week this week on Twit. We've made a little movie for you to enjoy. Watch.
Previously on Twit.
I guess my question is, if they've got one...
I got to stop taking drugs before we record this podcast.
It's me, Pikachu!
I never would have known it was you.
Mac Break Weekly.
Who was excited when the very first words practically out of Tim's Cook's mouth were Macintosh? So I can't believe we got new Mac Minis.
This is an example of Apple actually thinking about their customer and making sure that they were catering to the customer. They kept it the right size. They gave it all kinds of good advanced guts. They made sure that there was plenty of ports for people to use. They kept with their niche audience with this one.
All about Android.
I was very intrigued by the OnePlus 6T announcement. $549 of in-display fingerprint sensor near the bottom in a fixed location, which is pretty cool.
Should I show this off?
Yeah, I'm super
There it is. So you get a little indicator, and you go...
That's actually
That's
awesome.
Innovation there, folks.
Courage.
The new screensavers.
All right, let's see if it inflates if I can inflate the bag. This is so exciting. Oh, there we go. Keep it upside down. I'm going to put an iPhone in here.
Get a little more helium in there this
We got to really fill this thing up. Fill in the helium. All right. Oh, look at that. That's a lot of helium.
This was a long way to go for
where you
nothing.
think you know how these devices work, and if I had bet you $100 that I could kill your phone with helium, you'd say, "Sure, Kyle, whatever. You're crazy." And here we are.
Twit. It keeps going and going and going.
Not doing the...
We couldn't kill the phone, by the way. It didn't
It's
work.
supposed to stop the clock, right?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, this is actually the weirdest story ever. And Kyle Wiens of iFixit.org wrote it up on the iFixit blog. It starts in a hospital just outside of Chicago. They got a new MRI machine. And all of a sudden, everybody's phone in the hospital, the guy, the sysadmin in the hospital gets all these calls. People say, my phone's not working. It stopped working. And at first he thought, as I would have thought, it must have been... an EMP, like some burst of electricity fried the phones. But it was weird because no Android phones stopped working. Even iPhone, there was an iPhone 5 in the hospital. It worked. It was just later iPhones that stopped working and Apple Watches. And he couldn't figure it out. You know, and anybody who's fixed computers or, you know, has been a geek, you've had this experience where I don't know. That makes no sense. But at the same time, I always, in my head, and I even say this sometimes on the radio show, look, these are not magical machines. Everything is deterministic. There's a cause and effect. There's something that happened, but we just can't figure it out. The guy's name is Eric Wooldridge. He posted the puzzle on Reddit. That was a good move. Other sysadmins said, you know, MRI machines are cooled with liquid helium. Maybe it was the helium. So he investigated and found, yes, there was a little helium leak in that new machine. It vented into the building. And because the MRI room was not on an isolated HVAC loop, it got pumped into the ventilation. It was about 90,000 liters of gaseous helium.
Good grief. That's a very expensive leak.
Everyone was talking like the Munchkins.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Kyle said. I bet the nurses' voices were higher pitched that day. But what people didn't know, and it's even in the iPhone manual, iPhones nowadays, most devices are made with MEMS, micro electromechanical machines. These are tiny physical machines. In fact, here's one from Kyle's article. This is that one right there is a gyroscope, and this is an accelerometer. And if you actually look closely at the accelerometer, you could see it's broken. So the way this works is these things go back and forth. They move. This one got broken, right? And so this is 50 nanometers. This is a scanning electron microscope image. You cannot see this. In order to save room in iPhones, Apple has started using these MEMS for gyroscopes, accelerometers, and Apple is one of the few companies that uses a MEM for the oscillator. So all computers have a clock in them.
Yeah.
I think it's 32 kilohertz clock. It's literally the heartbeat of the computer. Every tick of the clock, the processor moves on. Yeah. If that clock stops, the whole thing stops. And it turns out Apple says this in their manual. I guess nobody read it. Exposing iPhones to environments having high concentrations of industrial chemicals, including near evaporating liquefied gases like helium may damage or impair iPhone functionality. What it is these MEMS are oxygen. Air can't get in. The molecules are too big, but the helium molecule's 2 atoms, right? It can penetrate. And then I guess it's like a particle of dust in this tiny thing.
Yeah.
It's a physical impediment. And so it didn't break them, but it made the oscillators stop. And Kyle was able to, and this is what we were trying to do on the show. We got some helium. We were trying to demonstrate this. He started a clock on his iPhone, put it in there. He said within 8 minutes it had stopped. Put it in helium. You could try this at home. The good news is, in most cases, it doesn't break it. Yeah. Apple says if your device has been affected,
give it the kiss of life, then you can just breathe life back into it,
blow on it. They say leave the unit unconnected from a charging cable, let it air out for about a week. The helium will fully dissipate from the device. The battery should fully discharge. After a week, plug your device in, let it charge up. It can then be turned on again. In other words, once you get the helium out of there, it'll work again.
How bizarre.
How bizarre, as they say, how bizarre.
But you tried it in the studio and it just didn't work.
We tried. And the other thing is apparently Android phones don't use MEMS for oscillators. So I put a Note 9 and a iPhone XR, but it was a brand new R. One of the things Kyle said is our phones have been disassembled, right? iFix takes it apart. So maybe the seals weren't as good. So his phone maybe was more susceptible. Maybe the people in the hospital, they had older iPhones that had been around the block. Yep. This was a brand new XR. Its seals are probably still good. Yeah. So I tried to kill it. I did it all for you.
You did your best. You did your best.
Helium, I could not break my MEMS. Actually, break is not what you want. You just want it to freeze. So just, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting...
It was a teachable moment.
A teachable moment. Don't play with helium, kids.
Just inhale it.
Stay in school.
Apple seems to have problems. It's funny. When Microsoft put out 1809 and it deleted data on a small fraction, Microsoft said 1/100% of users, 1,500 users. They pulled it back. They still haven't released it, right?
Yeah.
Here we are in November, and it's not out, 1809. Apple apparently put out a watch update this week, watchOS 5.1, that bricked watches. Does anybody know about it?
Well, because they did the very clever thing, or from a PR perspective, of releasing a ton of security updates 1 hour after the iPad presentation finished. So, of course, everyone was just like, Apple, 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 and on all the news feeds, that dominated everything, and nobody actually read the security stuff. And yeah, it did brick some devices. There's also some very interesting hacks they've patched.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. I mean, if you look
at all the attention was on the new iPad.
Yeah, it's look at the shiny new things and don't look behind the curtain.
That's why Apple does these events.
Right. Yeah.
Brilliant. Microsoft's getting all his heat on 1809. Of course, to be fair, a lot more people are using Windows 10 than are wearing Apple Watches. Yeah. Nevertheless, I'm glad I saw this story because I did an update.
I think it was only last month that Windows 10 machines finally overtook Windows 7 machines.
Microsoft. So this is another thing. Microsoft, the day before the Apple event, announced that 1.5 billion users are using Windows, actively using Windows. And then Tim Cook comes on stage, probably hadn't read that story, says, well, we're so happy to report that 100 million people use iOS. It's like... Yeah, not quite in the same ballpark. Is
it? No.
So what were the flaws?
Oh, there was some stuff in iOS that was could allow remote code execution. The watches needed an update. Apple TV needed an update.
Oh wow.
There was some quite nasty flaws fixed, and of course now, whenever you release flaw information, immediately everyone starts trying to reverse engineer it to find ways to access it. So once the updates are out, you've got to update everything as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah.
I mean, generally I have a t-shirt with Exploit Wednesday.
Yeah.
With the Microsoft
Patch
with the Windows
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Exploit
Wednesday. If you had updated your watch as soon as humanly possible, you would have been bricked.
There's the problem. True. Therein lies the problem.
But this is why with Windows 10, patches are tested out on consumers and then industry gets them 2 weeks later.
Right.
Apple hasn't done that. Basically, it's just like push it all out and see what happens.
Also, I think I don't think anyone is doing anything important with an Apple Watch, right?
Bricked watch. Well, I guess I won't know what time it is. Oh, I didn't anyway.
I didn't anyway, because where's the clock on this thing
There's
again?
no clock on this.
So, yeah. Doesn't matter.
No. I care. Google had a little bit of a walkout also on Tuesday. This goes back to the story we reported last week. Andy Rubin left Google, it turns out, because of a relationship. Well, I don't know exactly what was going on.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories.
Was it a sexual? It seems like it was consensual, but maybe it wasn't. Anyway, he was kind of forced out at Google. You would never have known from the fond farewell he got from Larry Page and the $90 million check.
Yeah.
But Google says, well, we owed him that because we really didn't give him enough compensation for bringing us Android, which he did. And Google's made billions on that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it seemed unseemly that somebody should be leaving over sexual harassment issues and get a big reward.
A common assignment at the protest was, I'd like to be fired for $90 million, please.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know exactly how many left. According to the New York Times, more than 3,000 people in New York.
Yeah, 20,000, more than 20,000
employees total.
Yeah.
We had one guy down at the San Francisco protest, and he estimated about 500 people there. Plus, they got the Mountain View. I mean, it was a rolling protest.
Right.
Started off in Japan, tracked the date line round.
The trend wasn't so much that it was about the existence of sexual harassment and things like that.
And by the way, there are quite a few incidents.
Yes, quite a few. Google. And the overarching trend was the way the company typically seems to be dealing with these things is to silence the victim and go on with business as usual, to sweep it all under the rug. And that seems to be the organizational problem that Google has if these stories are indicative of how things generally work.
Which, by the way, also this week before this, I think it was on Tuesday, the guy from X, the Moonshot unit, was forced to leave and did not get a $90 million payout. But so I brought up my story from this from the week. So the 5 points that the organizers behind this, there were things that I didn't even know about, like that if you sign a contract to work at Google, there's forced arbitration for cases of harassment and discrimination. Right. So number one, they want to be able to go to court.
It's as bad as Congress.
Exactly. Actually, it's interesting because we also, if you sign a contract to work for us, have an arbitration clause, and I think most employers in California do, because we don't want to get sued in court. We want to have the right to go to arbitration before we go to court, and I think most employers do that. That is controversial.
Yeah.
And
having a member on the board as well.
I think that was the one I was going to say is the most interesting one to me, is putting a worker representative on the board of directors.
Oh, that'll never happen.
Yeah,
that'll never happen.
I think you'll see a sort of Porky Aviation Squad flying over Mountain View before that happens.
I seem to remember that the California Assembly passed a bill saying employers could not put arbitration clauses in their contracts, and Jerry Brown vetoed it. That was fairly recently. So this is a controversial practice, but I should say it's not unique to Google, and I would say most employers in California, as we do, put that in there because it could be an employee lawsuit could be very costly, whether it's justified or not. So we'd always want to go to arbitration if we could.
I mean, I honestly don't think, based on talking to
I don't do it because I don't want you to sue me. I just don't want to have to pay those huge court costs.
Yeah. But I mean, I think talking to men and women at Google, we had reporters out for the protest, and demonstration seems a bit strong when the CEO sends you an email saying this is fine, go for it. But I don't think Google's as bad as other tech companies out there. I think they do actually make a genuine attempt. There are other companies, and we could name names, where this kind of thing is still stuck in a 20-year-old mindset.
We're not going to name Uber's name.
Yeah, we won't say the word Uber. Yeah.
What I think is really fascinating is that this is part of a larger story where there's a growing protest culture within Google.
That's exactly what I think. I think that's what's really interesting. It started with the $10 billion Pentagon. Actually, started before that with face recognition,
right?
And then the Pentagon contract.
And then
Google
the Chinese
said no,
search engine.
and the Chinese search engine. Google employees signed petitions.
Right.
They said no. Is it a bunch of entitled millennials working for Google, or is this the new future of employees?
I think this is the future of Silicon Valley because it's part of it is that we have this booming economy, and so if you're a hot developer in the Valley right now, you can write your own ticket.
You're empowered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I wrote this big piece for Fast Company about last year about how the general sentiment about Silicon Valley has turned super sour in recent couple of years.
Yeah, outside of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, right. The world looking at Silicon Valley.
EU. Yeah,
exactly. And so now I think Silicon Valley employees are thinking, well, why, we have this bad reputation. I go home to the Midwest to my family on Thanksgiving, and they're asking me questions like, why is Silicon Valley so toxic? Why is everybody so sexist? Why is everybody so racist? Why are all these things happening? And so they're starting to feel like they don't want to be part of it, or they believe they can fix it, or something else. But it's clearly a sea change. A very different cultural element for developers to be protesting. This is not how Silicon Valley used to work.
Yeah,
it's starting in Google in a big way. I think it's going to spread throughout the valley. I think.
Do you think it's a bad thing? I don't think it's a bad thing. I think in this case, I think employees, it's appropriate for them to say, this is how we want to run. We want you to be responsive to these things.
Particularly at Google, which build itself with the "don't be evil" thing. You can't recruit people on that kind of level to a company like Google and then say, actually, we are going to be a bit evil. This China search engine, the rest of it, but don't you worry about it. Just collect the paychecks. And Googlers are saying no.
If you look historically, labor movement in this country. I mean, go back to the riots and the anti-union suppression.
Yeah, you don't get given stuff for free. You've got to fight for
that's
it.
where the Pinkertons would come and beat up union guys.
Yep.
This seems like it's and then the unions went through a kind of a trough where unions were kind of not widely well regarded and seen as somewhat corrupt. And I think maybe we're coming back to another way of thinking about collective bargaining.
That point made about how much power the best engineers have right now, and you think of the company shall remain nameless and the person shall remain nameless. I was talking to someone that works at a big publicly traded tech company today, and he was talking about how young engineers feel like they don't have anywhere to go, where it wasn't even, in the early 2000s, if you were smart, you went to Google, and then it was Facebook, and then it was and he was talking about, because he's a recruiter, where do these kids want to go? And so if even the smartest of the smart are like, I don't want to go to Facebook anymore. I don't want to go to Google anymore because Google is not don't be evil anymore. Well, now, okay, so then if you're Google and you're facing that sort of a job market, then the internal employees, you got to keep them. So suddenly they do have power.
Yeah. Well, employees in some respects always have power if they're well trained and they do a job and you need them. So in a way, I feel like this is employees reasserting
collective action being reborn for the internet.
And I think it's great because an engineer at Google can individually say, well, no, I'm not going to put up with that because that's good. But this is everybody standing up and saying, no, we don't. We want our company to have heart, or we want our company to handle sexual harassment cases this way. I think that's
well. And then we're talking. We shouldn't gloss over the fact that this specifically is about sexual harassment. So I'm going to say that.
And they're very clear, by the way, that they want to enforce arbitration in the regards to sexual harassment and discrimination.
And also have an anonymous way of reporting it.
Yep.
Exactly. Lots of things. So I'm going to make this point, and then we can come back to dealing with it in that context, which is also important. But also the idea of, if you're an engineer and you're doing work on a project and you're coding this, and then you find out that it's being used for something that you personally do not feel is ethical. And you don't know that because you're doing a little piece of this and a little piece of, you don't have the operational knowledge of what this product is going into. Like, that's the other part of this that I feel like is fascinating, is engineers starting to say, I need to know what I'm doing, what my work is going towards.
And haven't we, I know on our shows, have said that this is exactly what techies need to do. They need to weigh in on how their technologies are being used. That they can't wash their hands. That the guys at Facebook can't say, and gals can't say, oh, it's used to make a Skinner box to get people to buy more product. You can't wash your hands of it. If you're making the technology, I think it's appropriate to say you have some responsibility for how it's used.
The most obvious one is AI. You're a 26-year-old engineer. You come out of school. You're imagining all these great things that AI is going to solve cancer and whatever, and then you find out that you go to Google and it's AI to search video for autonomous drones in a battlefield situation. And so I understand that, like, and again, maybe it's part of being young and being idealistic, that you're sold a bill of goods in terms of you're going to change the world, and then wait, change the world means that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is you brought up the age thing. Also, the rampant age discrimination in Silicon Valley is coming back to bite them because older people are less idealistic, more cynical and jaded, and more likely to just do the work for the money.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they have mortgages.
I got kids. I got a college tuition to pay for.
Yeah.
No, I it's funny because we talk a lot also about the entitlement of the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world and the feeling like that technologists should be running things because we are smart, and in fact they aren't. They have no heart, no soul, and don't understand how the world works. But just because they made $1 billion, they think they know everything.
Yeah.
That's different from the fact that the technologists who are actually writing the code, I do believe, should have some say in how that code is used.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's
just because you can code doesn't mean you should run the world, but you should have some say in how it's used.
I also believe that the impulse for democracy, having been rebuffed by the political sphere, is now entering in the business sphere. People feel like they can affect change in their workplays in ways that they can't do anything at the ballot box.
At the ballot box. A company. This is the from the article in the Cut by the organizers of the walkout. A company is nothing without its workers. From the moment we start at Google, we're told we're not just employees, we're owners. Every person who walked out today is an owner, and the owners say, time's up. Sundar Pichai says we're going to get the executive board together tomorrow, and we take this seriously, and we're going to do something about it. I don't know if they're going to put an employee representative on the board. Maybe.
I don't know. I think Satan will go to work on a snowplow before that happens.
Here's a question for you. Why does Sundar Pichai always get off the hook on stuff?
He does, because he says stuff like that. Oh, he says, you're right, it hurts me too.
Yeah, and he's reacting in a very Facebookian way. Facebook always just charges forward on ethical lapses, and if they get caught and it looks bad in the press, then they apologize and try to pretend to rectify.
Reason Google gets off. Yeah.
But he in particular, there's been so many things that Google has done, but it's never really. He personally is never blamed in the way that other CEOs.
That way, isn't he? Yeah,
I was wondering about that.
It's in a way that other CEOs aren't. I mean, when Balmer cocked things up, then everyone piled in with both feet.
Why do you think that is? Do we like Sundar Pichai? I think Google has a certain residual goodwill because everybody uses it. When Google came out with a search engine that worked, everybody said, hallelujah. The internet really runs on Google at this point. Yeah. Do you think it's because of that?
The Google doesn't necessarily make people feel bad about themselves on a minute-to-minute basis, and then also it helps that they skip out on congressional testimony now and again and allow Facebook to take all the heat, and which we saw in the internal memos was an actual strategy suggested by their lawyers.
A good strategy too. Yep. Just because the lawyers suggest it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
You said it.
Quite often, active reasons not to do it.
Amazon's close to making a decision on HQ2. The CNBC says the smart money is on Nova, in particular Crystal City, Virginia, North Virginia. Actually, this is the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal are saying.
That's close for all the nice, juicy government contracts that they could be getting. But I do worry at how much cities have been willing to basically prostate themselves in front of Amazon, one of the most valuable companies in the world, offering tax breaks that the company doesn't even remotely need just for the privilege of hosting this. Ask Seattle how that worked out, because they're not happy about it at the moment.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And yet, you go downtown Seattle, it's Amazon City.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So it depends who you talk to.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, the homeless problem has exploded because people have been priced out of their houses. So they were going to introduce a new tax to, if you're making more than 50 million, it's kind of like Prop C. And if you're making more than a certain amount of money, you get charged a little extra tax on all the people that you have working in the city, and we use that to solve homelessness.
Amazon managed to get that quashed.
Yeah, Amazon got that quashed really quickly, and then spent $2 billion opening up a homeless shelter, but it could write that money up against tax. So, yeah.
Can we talk about the Amazon guy threatening? Essentially, people on Twitter for breaking the NDA or whatever. Yeah. Like it's weird how. Hold on.
On Twitter.
Hold on, I'll bring it up.
He's like, you're not doing the people of Crystal City any favors.
Amazon executive rips leaking to Bezos' Washington Post on headquarters. So the Washington Post had the story about Crystal City. In a tweet yesterday morning, Amazon's Mike Grella addressed, quote, the genius memo to the genius leaking info about Crystal City, Virginia. You're not doing Crystal City any favors, and stop treating the NDA you signed like a used napkin.
So as Mike, this is Mike Dudas. I'm not claiming this is mine. He's like, boy, Amazon executives seem like nice folks. They're
Cranky.
Awesome to partner with. Yes. They sound like the mafia.
Yeah. And then there was the story in the Post about where Jeff Bezos goes and the reasonable conclusion that if Bezos doesn't visit the city, it's probably not still on the list.
Doesn't he own the Washington Post?
Well, apparently he doesn't control it. And I'm actually glad to see this.
Yeah.
If anybody's going to have these leaks, it should be the Post.
Speaking of homeless people, that reporter will be soon.
Yes.
Yeah, Amazon execs maybe not, they're crying a lot these days, and maybe they're just a little bit, more emotional.
I don't know. I mean, it's just...
Grella said in a follow-up tweet, if a company's location intent was judged by where its CEO flies, they might be moving to Davos or Sun Valley or Rome or Hollywood.
Hey, Black Rock Desert.
And Google, Facebook, and Tesla might be relocating to Black Rock Desert.
Yeah.
I think Burning Man would be a good place to have your corporate headquarters. Lots of fun.
Alkali Desert.
You've been to Burning Man?
No. I've it's one of those things I've always meant to get around to.
Ryan, are you a burner?
Mike,
No.
must have.
Mike Elgan, surely you've danced naked, cavorted naked, high on acid.
Sure, but not a Burning
City.
Yeah, but not a
Burning Man. Okay,
that place is just crazy.
It's funny. None of us have been to Burning Man.
Yeah, I mean,
what a bunch of
when
losers.
I first came over to this country 10 years ago, everyone was saying, "Don't bother with Burning Man; it's sold out to the techie community. It's nothing like what it was," and they're still saying the same thing today.
You know what I say, and it's actually not true, but it's a good line. Oh yeah, I used to go to Burning Man when it was at Ocean Beach in San Francisco. I haven't been since then.
Yeah.
Well, I hear they're in the desert these days.
And to be honest, I love Burning Man because it takes all the wankers out of San Francisco. And you just if you could just build a wall around the city.
It's nice and calm.
Maybe Trump will do that.
Man.
Yeah.
All the wankers, they're gone.
Make the Mexicans pay for it.
So I've been told that Tuesday we have an election in the United States.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Apparently nothing has been done to stop election interference on Facebook. In fact,
you heard about Georgia's election servers.
Well, there's another fun one. Well, let's get to that in a second. First of all, I want to talk about the article in The Intercept. Apparently, they were able to select, when they went to the detailed targeting criterion on the social network for buying ads, one of the checkboxes was, yeah, you can buy white genocide conspiracy theory fans.
Great market. Really
and this wasn't even something the buyer had generated. This was a Facebook
checkbook on Facebook.
They said that's why we didn't catch it, because we created it.
Did nobody actually look at this and go, you know what? That's going to look really bad.
Isn't the thing that really scares me is it's 168,000 of them.
Oh, that people had liked that as a category?
This is the quote. People who have expressed an interest or like pages related to white genocide conspiracy theory, they bought the ad, approved by Facebook's advertising wing, and then The Intercept contacted Facebook, and the category disappeared. Yeah. And Facebook said, we're sorry, it should never have existed in the first place.
Now listen, all we're learning about Facebook is that they just refuse to put any humans anywhere near their algorithms, right? Yeah. It's either that or there's somebody that was on the inside that's a white supremacist or something, but that's got to be the Occam's razor has to be they don't want to touch the algorithms. They don't want to have people involved.
Clearly.
They just want to let it go. Yeah.
ProPublica caught them over a year ago.
Yeah.
ProPublica bought ads for, targeted at Jew haters, how to burn Jews.
Because at this point, you could have hired 10,000 people.
They could have gotten rid of it.
Yeah. To do something, to just put your thumb on the scale now and again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's time and time again, Facebook has shown that they just really aren't that bothered by this kind of stuff. As long as the money's coming in.
This is the form Sam Biddle writing in The Intercept. Your ad is approved.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Campaign, white supremacy.
It's a test of white supremacy. Anybody interested in white genocide?
They buy a lot of sheets and torches and stuff like that. They're a great market.
Yeah, actually, we got tiki torches to sell. We got the audience for you.
Lighter fluid.
Jeez Louise. So here we are coming up to the election. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg testified. The government said. We even had the Honest Ads Act.
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell stalled it. Said, no, I'm not going to bring that one up for a vote.
Yeah.
Literally nothing has been done to protect us against that kind of influence. And then you're talking about Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia's, those two things. Down in Texas, people found their votes were being changed, and apparently you're supposed to wait 5 seconds before making a vote, but nobody actually told anyone that. But in Georgia, they're running...
All the Democrat votes in Texas were flipped to Republican votes.
Not all. I'm
like if you voted the
some
party
people
line,
are claiming that basically when they pressed a button for one candidate, the other candidate's name popped up. But
then wait 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
but
obviously.
then Georgia's even more egregious because they haven't updated their election machine software since 2008, and the models themselves are no longer made. So the election officials are having to buy stuff on eBay to get spare parts to keep these things running.
What could possibly go wrong?
I know. It's just, this is democracy.
13 states still use electronic e-voting machines with no paper trail.
Yep.
Which means they're eminently hackable.
And as we saw at DEF CON, these things are easy as pie to hack. And we know people are interested in hacking elections in this country, so why is Congress sitting on its hands?
Well,
I could rant about this.
Yeah. In my opinion, the best way to fix this is for everybody to vote, and the mass of legitimate voters that will overcome any of these weird discrepancies or hacks. That's the only way to fix it. Everybody's watching this show. You got to vote.
That would be great, but honestly,
I'll give you the day off on Tuesday. I would
say go back to paper ballots because they're incredibly hard.
You should have both. You should have electronic and paper, and then you do an audit and compare.
Yeah, we know that's the only way to do it.
Even when you use a credit card, they'll still give you a paper receipt 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Why can't you have that?
Yep.
Yeah. No, exactly.
It just slows people down. But then you do want to wait 5 seconds after you vote for Ted Cruz, just to make sure.
But no, I mean, seriously, everyone should get out and vote. I mean, I like the Australian system where it's mandatory to vote. You can spoil your ballot paper, but you have to go.
Where is it, Mike? You traveled the world. Where is it? You dip your thumb in ink, and everybody knows.
Iraq.
You knows you voted because you've got a blue thumb.
I think the best. It's Iraq and a lot of Middle Eastern countries. A few Middle Eastern countries. The best example, I think, for the world for democracy is probably Costa Rica. Costa Rica makes a kind of holiday out of voting. They actually have little voting booths so children can pretend to vote. They drive around on election day honking and waving and they make a big deal out of it. It's not I think a legal remedy is one remedy. A cultural remedy is something we could really use.
One.
Yeah. I heard a shocking statistic. In 2016, a very consequential election, only 16% of millennials voted.
Yeah.
16%.
It's insane.
And yet you hear millennials complaining about who the president is. 16%. I mean, that's just that's pretty bad.
I do get kind of angry when I hear people that aren't voting. I mean, unfortunately I can't vote in UK elections anymore, and I can't vote in the US elections. But it's just
give me a couple of dollars. You can.
That's right.
I'll let you. I give you my
How hard
ballot.
is it? You can do it by post. It's not exactly rocket science.
Yeah,
and
you're
this is what
disenfranchised.
democracy's about.
You really
I am officially disenfranchised now. Yeah.
Twitter deleted 10,000. This is one of the reasons people don't vote is voter suppression on social media. 10,000 accounts that sought to discourage voting in the U.S. I'm sure the 10,000 was a drop in the bucket. Yet, who the hell's creating 10,000 accounts to discourage people from voting?
Yeah.
Follow the money.
Russia. Yeah.
And so on. I also would like to point out that in the case of this story you're talking about now with Twitter, this was actually the Democratic Party itself that found these accounts and notified Twitter, and they took action.
It wasn't Twitter that did it.
No, it wasn't Twitter. It was the Democratic Party. But with most of these stories, including the Facebook story we just talked about, it was the press that exposed these things. The press has the worst rap these days, but it's like one of the last things protecting us from all of these election-mongering evildoers. It was the press that exposed the Internet Research Agency in Russia, New York Times Magazine specifically. It's the media doing investigative journalism And I would love for the press to, especially as a member of the press, to at least rise above lawyers and dog catchers in terms of the public esteem.
Yeah.
Well, and so, by the way, Facebook, Twitter, whoever, how much would it cost you to hire 30, 50, 500 good journalists? There's a lot of people floating around these days.
Yeah. Well, there was a lovely tweet earlier this week when Apple were announcing they were getting humans to go over the Apple News things and just check the feeds manually. Someone just responded, "Editors, you've created editors again. We've been doing this stuff for generations.
We don't need more editors."
It's just and Facebook just saying, "Oh well, we rely on algorithms to sort that." It doesn't work. Yeah. It patently doesn't work.
You may wonder, how do you do a tweet that discourages people from voting? Here's one: a tweet that discouraged Democratic men from voting, saying it will drown out the voice of women. Think of the women. Don't vote. Let women vote.
Oh, good grief.
And on the other hand, if somebody's so dumb they would fall for that, I don't want them to vote.
I don't want them to vote. Don't vote. No, do vote. No,
yes.
I don't mean that. Do vote. Even if you're dumb, please, I encourage you. It's not that hard. You can do it. You can do it. Our show today brought to you by... There's not a lot more news. Microsoft Office getting a dark mode for Mac OS Mohave. That's a story.
Everybody gets so excited about dark.
That's
I
a
don't
story.
get why everyone's so excited.
Why
about
is that
dark
a
mode.
story? That's not a story.
Oh, there was one thing you heard about the NASA's triple whammy this week.
Save it for the next page. Page 2. Our show today brought to you by my mattress, Casper. Sleep. As I age, I really appreciate sleep more and more. People think old people sleep better. They sleep worse. As you get older, you sleep worse. The stress of life, they're just things keep you up at night, you dreams, whatever. And we know that good sleep is really important, not just to mental health, to physical health. So let's get a really great mattress, a mattress that's comfortable, that breathes. We know that, for instance, you should sleep cool. You should sleep cool. Your body temperature goes down during sleep, and you don't want to sleep hot. Mattress from Casper are awesome. They combine, this is the original Casper mattress, multiple supportive memory foams for a sleep surface that gives you just the right sink, just the right bounce. Plus, its breathable design helps you sleep cool and regulate your temperature through the night. Long-lasting comfort and support, and you can buy it easily, inexpensively, online. They eliminate the middleman. You know, the markup at mattress stores is over 100%. Easy. Often much more. Eliminate. This is why Casper, this is where these guys figured this out. They said, we could sell direct and save people so much money. But then there was a problem. People have this notion, I got to try it before I buy it. I understand. That's reasonable. So what Casper did was brilliant. They give you 100 days to sleep on it. At any time during the 100 days, at any time you say, it's not right for me, you call them. They will literally come and get it and refund all your money. You don't have to lie down in a showroom. Casper offers free delivery and painless returns within a 100-day period. You're going to love your Casper mattress. Casper mattresses uphold the highest environmental production standards. They're made in the U.S. They have free shipping and returns, not just in the U.S., but in Canada as well. This is revolutionizing the mattress industry. And by the way, it's just a great mattress. Get a Casper mattress today. You can save $50 towards select mattresses when you go to Casper, CASPER.com/twit. Promo code TWIT at checkout. Casper.com/twit. Some terms and conditions apply. Let's see what else is going on here. Oh, there's a new Intel exploit. But I want to say, and I'm going to start doing this. You guys probably do it too at the register. We need Steve Gibson calls it the gas index, the index. Like when you talk about an exploit, how much you should care.
Yeah. There's been a rather regrettable trend certainly over the last 6 months with a couple of titles who will just be like, this Windows bug will bring down your entire system.
Well, I think you could actually make the case for Spectre and Meltdown.
Yeah.
That have there been any exploits in the wild?
In the wild,
it's too hard.
It's an incredibly difficult one to do. There have been derivations of those original exploits which have appeared in the wild, but they are few and far between. Because
what has happened is so a lot of the exploits we had first heard about were just poor code. Yeah. Buffer underruns, buffer overruns, accessing zero pointers, things like that. Those are still around, but now researchers, and these are, by the way, these are like super geniuses.
Yeah.
This one was discovered in Finland at the Tampere University of Technology in Finland and the Technical University of Havana by a team of 5 academics.
Yeah.
These guys are way smarter than the average hacker.
Yeah.
These timing attacks are very difficult to implement.
Yeah. The other thing is I have my own gas index, which is Steve Gibson is a trained and licensed professional. He's like, he cares about all the...
Yeah, he's got a report on everything.
But really, there are big major exploits that are going to completely ruin your life that you can't do anything about. And there are ones you can do something about, and those are the ones you should really, as a user, care about. Because if you can do something about it, do something about it. Usually, it's get the patch, update it, etc. But there are many of these in the last couple of years that we've seen where it's some horrible chip flaw, several Intel flaws, where it's like, well, that's awful.
But what are you going to do?
I can't do anything about it.
It's kind of like the side channel attacks that occasionally get pitched to us, because I used to cover security on a sort of regular basis. And there it's just like, yes, you can work out the encryption key, and then when you look at the details, you've got to have physical access to the machine and collect it up to an oscilloscope and various other things. You're like, it's cute,
well, that's
but
what
it's
this
not a
one
real
is.
threat.
This is called port smash.
Yeah.
That's, by the way, another thing. If you're a PhD student looking to make a good thesis, come up with a good name for that hack.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we say in the office, if it's got a name and it's even got its own branded website, as Heartbleed did, it's probably, being massively oversold.
Spectre meant that port smash is a side channel vulnerability, exactly as you're talking about. And it comes from hyperthreading. So hyperthreading is actually Intel's marketing term for something called simultaneous multi-threading, or SMT architecture. And more than Intel chips use this, but Intel calls it hyperthreading. The idea that a single chip could do multiple things at once, a threaded chip. And it's the same kind of problem that Spectre and Meltdown were, which is essentially, because you have multiple processes going, if one process, say, is a password, but the other process is malicious, process 2 can peek into process 1 and perhaps get the password, leak encrypted data from a computer's memory or CPU. But listen to how it works. It works by recording and analyzing discrepancies in operation times, power consumption, electromagnetic leaks, or sound. So essentially, and this is true of Spectre and Meltdown too, the way they work is that took a little longer than it should have. And from that, these super brains can figure out what your password is.
So
they're hard to weaponize, these attacks.
You guys clearly know way more about this than I do. So let me stand in for Joe Sixpack here. Is the issue that I feel like I never used to hear about chip problems? Like, is there some sort of a trend where on the silicon side they're more vulnerable? Something has happened structurally.
I'll tell you what's happened.
People are looking for it.
Yes, it all goes back to something called Rowhammer, which was a way to
takes you back.
You remember Rowhammer? People started realizing that if you mess with timing, you can exploit stuff. People stopped looking at buffer overflows or started. I think it's PhD students trying to get their thesis, trying to get their doctorate. Yeah. They figured if you, that's not interesting to find a buffer.
So
override.
it's almost it's the Streisand effect, that because so many headlines have happened in the last 6 months,
they're looking
more people are looking for them.
That's exactly right.
It was ever thus, surely. I mean, you remember the floating point problem with Intel Pentiums?
That was a problem.
It was a problem for a
20 years
tiny
ago.
fraction of users.
No, but you could, in your calculator, demonstrate it. So it wasn't. It was still kind of a problem that it was doing floating point math wrong.
But for Joe Sixpack, then it wasn't going to. They're not going to be doing
spreadsheet a little.
Well, if you're doing complex financial modeling,
floating point is hard.
It is, but
But if that flaw were around today, it would be considered like, priority number 12 or something. It wouldn't. It was just back in the day there were so few of those. That
the other I think culprit is Google and Project Zero. They have a really good team of security researchers they're the ones who came up with Rowhammer back in 2015, and they pointed the way. Rowhammer is a problem with some recent RAM devices in which repeatedly accessing a row of memory can cause bit flips in adjacent rows. And then they do that in such a way they can gain kernel privileges, if you know what you're doing. The problem is these guys, of course, the first thing they do is they go to Intel and say, fix it.
Yeah.
And then if Intel doesn't, or after Intel does, they'll release sample code. And at that point, even a script kiddie sometimes can take advantage of this. But
well, I mean, they give them 90 days, and they will extend that considerably. I mean, with Spectre and Meltdown, that had been extended quite extensively.
The good news on Spectre and Meltdown, apparently Intel has a new fix that doesn't hurt performance as much, more like 1%, 2%.
One would hope, but then again, they've fibbed about that in the past, so we'll see how it actually works in practice.
In any event, there's port smash. On the gas index, it's a big 0, if you ask me.
Yep.
I don't think you should worry about it. Although it is a problem, these side channel attacks, if you're running on a server, right? Because you can't control what other processes are running on that CPU.
And this came back to the Supermicro thing. When you're dealing with baseline management controllers on a server, then that opens a whole new area of kerfuffle.
The researchers were able to demonstrate it on Intel, Skylake, and Kaby Lake CPUs, but they hypothesize that anything that uses SMT, including AMD.
Yeah, we're hearing AMD are vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it confirmed all the way, but that's certainly the understanding we're getting from our contacts.
This is the first result from Scare. It sounds like I'm making this up. Scare is the side channel. I got the name. This is the Scare blog. The Scare is the side channel aware engineering security project funded by the European Research Council.
Because it has to have a name like that.
Scare. The goal of the project to find new side channel vectors and mitigate them. I can't wait till we see the CW series about this.
That's gonna be hilarious.
But they've always got a name like Scare or something like that.
I know. Heartbleed.
Well, this week there's a big AI conference called the Neural Information Processing Systems Conference. And some of the attendees have been trying to get the name changed because they don't really feel comfortable going to a conference called NIPS. And the organizer said, well, we polled our people and that's it. We're keeping the NIPS.
It's not so much the people who feel uncomfortable, it's the people who come in the door thinking they're going to find something else.
Being disappointed.
Intel's response, by the way, as of yesterday, Intel received notice of the research, the port smash research. The issue is not reliant on speculative execution. That's what Spectre and Meltdown did. It's therefore unrelated to Spectre, Meltdown, or L1 terminal fault. See, you don't hear a lot about L1 terminal fault. It needs a better name.
Yeah.
Yes.
We expect it's not unique to Intel platforms. Research on side channel analysis methods often focuses on manipulating and measuring the characteristics, such as timing of shared hardware resources. Software or software libraries can be protected against such issues by I think Intel's response is designed to bore you so much that you just forget the whole thing ever happened. By employing side channel safe development practices, protecting our customers' data, and ensuring the security of our products is a top priority for Intel. And we will continue to work with customers, partners, and researchers to understand and mitigate any vulnerabilities that are identified. Thank you, Intel. I forgot. What were we talking about?
Something.
Good news. Passwords, well, maybe, are protected by the Fifth Amendment.
Yeah, this is the Florida case.
For now, somewhere.
Hey, at least we have a court that says they're protected. I mean, that decision. So it actually is a reversal by the Florida Circuit Court of Appeal on a lower court ruling. The details are long and elaborate of the case, but essentially, it was a case of a fatal car accident. The police wanted the driver's phone. They got a warrant, a fairly broad warrant, to search it for data, photos, text messages, and more. They also got an order compelling the driver of the car to hand over the passcode for the iPhone and an iTunes account associated with it. In court, in the lower court, they said that's fine. That's okay. Mm-hmm. You can demand a passcode. You can get it. You can get whatever you get out of that phone. You can be used.
And you can do it because we know you know the passcode. That's why
the weird one.
Yeah.
That's the weird one. The trial court had agreed to compel the disclosure, given that, quote, the act of producing the passcodes isn't testimonial. Remember, the Fifth Amendment protects you against the says you have the right not to testify against yourself. You cannot incriminate yourself. The lower court said this isn't testimonial. It's not testifying because the existence, custody, and authenticity of the passcodes are a foregone conclusion. We know you know it. So it's not testimony. Police can't ask for your fingerprint. You know, when you get booked, they fingerprint you.
Yeah.
They can pull a hair out of your head without permission.
They can take your iPhone and wave it in your face, and
Face ID and Touch ID.
They can take your finger and put it down on the fingerprint sensor. But intellectual property, however.
Well, we'd always speculated the contents of the mind are protected, right? Because it's testimonial. Because the Fifth Amendment says you can't demand something in my mind. But this lower court said, oh, no, it's not testimonial because it's a foregone conclusion. He knows it. The appeal court disagreed. This is the good news. And, you know, there would be more, I'm sure.
We did think Florida Man was going to win again on this one, but no, it's thankfully we got some sanity.
It said, the circuit court said essentially, if they knew what they were looking for on the phone, that would be okay. If they said, well, we want to see, we know there's a text message where the guy says, I'm drunk and I'm going to drive.
Yeah.
That would be okay.
Or even reasonable expectation. And that's why I love this ruling. It's an anti-fishing expedition ruling.
That's exactly right. The state, according to this is the decision, the state did not show with any particularity knowledge of the evidence within the phone. The trial court could not find that the contents of the phone were already known to the state and thus within the foregone conclusion exemption. In other words, knowing the password's not enough. You've got to know the state seeks the phone passcode not because it wants the passcode, because it wants to know what communications lie beyond the passcode wall. If the defendant were to reveal this passcode, he'd be engaged in a testimonial act utilizing the contents of his mind and demonstrating as a factual matter he knows how to access the phone. As such, the compelled production of the phone passcode or the iTunes password here would be testimonial and is covered, is protected by the Fifth Amendment.
Can I be really dumb here again? Because it sounds like you guys know more about this again. How is this not settled law? Because we've had safes that have combinations for hundreds of years.
Right.
So isn't that the same thing?
I wish I were a lawyer.
Yeah. I think when I think it's down to the nature of the format, if you like, in that I believe it comes down to, you know, this confusion has come down to putting things in digital format. You know, with a safe, it
sounds to me like in this case the argument
is because it's numbers again.
If the warrant said, I know in that safe is the gun you used to murder the victim, I can get a warrant
and chisel your way
that says I can go in that safe, I can compel you to unlock it, but what I cannot do is look through the other contents of the safe. I can look and see that gun and take it and use that as evidence. Yeah. So that's the problem with these phones is you can't just say, well, we want to see what's on your phone. That's not sufficient because everything's on this phone. And so I think it's really important that this court decided that merely knowing that you can unlock the phone is not sufficient. You need to know what you're looking for in here. Yeah. You cannot, as you said, Mike, go on a fishing expedition in somebody's phone.
And that's the right ruling, I think.
Yeah, and this is becoming increasing. There was another ruling a couple of months ago where the FBI wanted the IMEI numbers of every phone within the space of a particular robbery. And you're like, that's 10,000 people. That's making a rod for your own back, but it's just a blatant fishing expedition, and that's got to be stopped.
Well, and Brian, and this article from Naked Security, the Sophos blog, points out, because this is a state court, it doesn't apply anywhere else.
Right.
So this one decision doesn't protect you in any other state of the union. It might not even protect you in Florida.
It might be influential, though.
Well, it's a precedent, and so it's not settled law. It's not stare decisis, but it is at least a precedent that people can call upon and say, well, look, here in Florida in this decision. So I think we want to see more cases like this because I'm of the strong opinion that law enforcement should not be allowed to demand the contents of your phone. I think that there's too much in there.
If for no other reason than increasingly everybody keeps all their information on their phones, and
including your location history.
You give somebody a parking ticket or something, and then you're like, well, we demand to see your phone, and then look, you appear to be associating with a known criminal 6 years ago, so we're going to run you in.
Yeah.
Here's some good news from, well, I mean, at this point, anybody who proposes a bill we like, that's good news, right? The fact that it will never, ever see the light of day is meaningless. Ron Wyden has proposed a bill that could jail executives who mishandle consumer data.
I don't think Mark Zuckerberg would last a day in the big house.
No, exactly.
The bill suggests creating a penalty of 10 to 20 years in prison for senior executives who fail to follow new rules around data use. The Consumer Data Protection Act would give the Federal Trade Commission more authority and resources to police the use of data by adding 175 new staff. They'd be also allowed to fine companies up to 4% of revenue. Where have we heard that before? That sounds like something from GDPR.
Yeah.
For a first offense, it would create a centralized do not track list that would be enforceable. Companies that make more than $1 billion in revenue and handle information on more than 1 million people would be required to submit regular reports to the FTC describing any privacy lapses. This is basically Ron Wyden's version of GDPR.
Yeah.
Doesn't stand a chance in hell. Won't even come to committee.
It'll last about as long as a snowflake in a blast furnace. I mean, it's just, it's a wish list of what we would love to have, but we'll never have because we can't have nice things.
Yeah. Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, good man. He's always been good, I think, on these issues.
He's one of the
few
smart senators out there.
Yeah. Is there? I hear there's an election day on Tuesday.
Yeah, apparently so.
I hear there is. It's not too late to find out where your elected representatives stand on that.
Well, judging from the signs,
it might be.
Yeah,
maybe is it too late?
Voter suppression.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
you know what I did? I'm an absentee voter.
Mm-hmm.
I filled out my ballot because I get the ballot in the mail, but I haven't mailed it. So if I change my mind, I have till Tuesday. And then what I like to do, because I like to
keep your options
in
open.
our great national tradition of voting, me and the 5 other people in the area who do that, I like to go into the balloting, the voting place and put my ballot.
So you have the early ballot just in case you can't make it or something, or you
no, because I liked a couple of things. One, I like to have a lot of time to think about it, and I like to mark the ballot.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I like to go to the polling place.
Yeah.
I like to see
That's
the
a lot of fun.
flag,
get that feel,
and
of
all
it,
the people, the volunteers there, and it just makes me feel good to vote. And I used to take my kids to vote with me.
Yeah.
But I don't like that pressure of going in and you close the curtain and now you've got to. I don't like that.
I think I should be able to take a selfie in there personally.
Oh, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
No.
You should be able to. It should be our right as citizens. No, constitutional amendment.
Selfies. And then post it. I voted.
Absolutely.
You know what really kills me? In California, we don't do stickers anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a bit weak.
Can we let's get Anthony to do an I voted bug for this screen. We could put on Tuesday, put on our screen. And just leave it there all day on Twitter. I voted just to make you feel bad.
Yes.
If you didn't. Just in case. I like the stickers. Maybe I'll make my own.
Yeah.
A crayon. Our show, we got a great panel. Thank you, Brian, for being here. How the internet happened from Netscape to the iPhone on bookstore shelves now. If you had a bookstore, but since you don't go to Amazon.
And we got a great review in the Wall Street Journal.
Did you?
And
nice.
So check that out and Tech Meme Right Home every day.
It's a great podcast. We're not done yet. I'm giving you an early plug because I know people don't listen to the whole show. Mike Elgan, digitalnomad.net.
Gastronomad.net.
I never get it right.
Okay.
Gastronomad.net. The next adventure is
Mexico City,
yep. And then Morocco, and then Barcelona. Yep. That's lots of good ones coming up. Click the experiences tab at the top there.
Mexico City, we're doing New Year's Eve and a few days before that. So if you want an awesome New Year's Eve, I know you love to drink.
New Year's Eve in Mexico City. Is it too late? Are you filled up? Is it sold out?
We have 2 more spots left.
That would be just enough for me and Lisa.
Mezcal.
And, of course, Ian Thomson, theregister.co.uk.
Always fun.
Look at this great picture, the Wall Street Journal in their review of your book.
They were so young then.
Steve Jobs and Bill Gates looking like they're 15.
Yeah. I got a lot of stick on Twitter, though, that everyone was like, well, neither of those guys had anything to do with the internet.
I heard that,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, they didn't. You're right.
No, I've got a copy of Gates's book, Business at the Speed of Light, that he published in 92, where he basically, the internet's just a fad. It's the CB radio of computers. And it was just like, shortly after that was published, it was just, yeah, okay, mea culpa. Now we need to break the law to get Internet Explorer everywhere. But a different time.
This is good. Time. Boy, what a positive review.
Yeah, really great review. Congratulations
well
on
the
review.
Nice job.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Our show today brought to you by Stamps.com. I like visiting the post office. I have a post office box. I have a key. I go there every week and I look at it and say hi to the people. But the last thing in fact, the last time I was there was a woman there who was they have the self-service kiosk. She had 40 or 50 packages and was one by one putting it on the scale, pressing the buttons, paying a quarter, taking it off, putting the next one on there. And there were people coming in and they were looking and they were going, and they were turning out. You don't need to do that. You should get this woman of all people should have Stamps.com. Stamps lets you, at your desk, buy and print real U.S. postage. It's not a postage meter. You don't need any special ink. It's just a website, Stamps.com, your computer, your printer. You're done. Anything you can do at the post office, you're done. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail. 24/7 when it's convenient for you. You don't have to worry about any woman mailing 100 packages to Peoria. You can create your Stamps.com account in minutes. You don't have to lease any equipment. There's no long-term commitment. And by the way, if you do this, if you go to Stamps.com right now and you click the microphone on the top of the homepage and you enter TWIT, you will get a USB scale. They'll send it to you that automatically calculates the right postage. It'll help you decide the best class of mail. It saved us a lot of money. Sometimes they'll say, oh, you should mail that media mail, because you could say, click, print, and mail. You're done. It couldn't be easier. You'll also get up to $55 in free postage, and you'll get a 4-week trial of Stamps.com. And all you have to do is go to Stamps.com, click the microphone in the upper right-hand corner, enter TWIT. You owe it to yourself to at least try this. At least try this, especially now as we're getting closer to the holidays, and the post office is going to get busy. Business has to get done. If you use U.S. mail in your business, and who doesn't, for bills, for brochures, if you're an Amazon or Etsy buyer, oh my God, a seller rather, you'll love this. It fills out the forms. It does it all automatically. Stamps.com. Click the microphone and use the offer code TWIT. Hey, it worked.
We're going to need a corkscrew with this. This is an unusual. Oh, there you go. Beautiful.
Normally, so Prosecco is a sparkly wine.
Sometimes.
Not always.
Not always. Prosecco comes in 3 varieties. It's Tranquillo, which is still a still wine.
Tranquillo. I like that.
Frizzante, which is medium bubbles. This is a Frizzante. Yeah. And then Spumante is the super bubbly, but champagne-like bubbliness.
Spumante.
Yes.
Asti Spumante.
Never drink Asti Spumante.
Don't drink that. Talk about all the sulfites that aren't in this bottle are in the Asti Spumante.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing quite like an Asti hangover first thing in the morning. It's just like...
Yeah,
brain feels like a raisin.
Brian, I'm going to leave you out of this.
Yeah, sadly.
Actually, I might leave all of us out of this because this is not going
well.
Let
me do. You got a show to run.
Here, take the bottle, and I'll get the glasses. These aren't exactly champagne glasses. I think they're brandy sniffers.
Yeah, whiskey glasses. Yes.
Better way. You got to drive home.
I believe you guys don't have Prosecco glasses.
What do Prosecco glasses look like?
They're like wide flutes. They're whitish flutes.
Nice.
This is the worst corkscrew I've ever.
Why don't we live in wine country? You have the crappiest corkscrew ever.
Should I go out and check this?
No, that's the one.
I use the shoe.
At home, we have much better ones. Remember Elon Musk's Starman? He launched it into space. The Roadster with the guy.
It's cherry red.
Cherry red. It's not looking so cherry anymore, thanks to I don't know what space debris. It is now gone past Mars. It is putting it one of the greatest distances away from the sun. It's what do you call that? The aphelion. Oops, pressed the wrong button there. Perihelion. It is 1.66 astronomical units, or 115.5 million miles away. It's not going to rendezvous with Mars. But it's pretty good, as the Engadget folks point out, for a mannequin. And it's going to be a long time before the Starman comes back our way. Ben Pearson has apparently made models that show that the Roadster won't be close to the Earth until 2 years from now, November 4th, 2020, a mere 32 million miles away. So you're not. We've seen the last of Starman, I guess.
Elon Musk just did an interview with Kara Swisher. Really fun interview. Almost as fun as the one where he was high as a kite.
You broke our corkscrew.
I broke the corkscrew. It's made out of plastic.
Yeah, but you broke the middle
Sonoma
part.
County. And you have a plastic corkscrew.
Oh, the heck with it. Iain has now gone off in search of a corkscrew.
So in this interview, he said why he sent his car to space. He said every rocket has to be tested with a payload, and usually they do something really boring, like big block of cement or something like that. And he said it made him angry that they were being so boring, so he did something interesting and sent his own car
right
to
on.
space. And
Bravo.
So, yeah. And he wasn't high. So
meanwhile, and I should wait till Iain gets back because this is from a Register story. Meanwhile, NASA has apparently lost a significant number of devices: a space probe, an orbital telescope, and a Mars rover. Are those all the same device?
Sadly, no. The Kepler Space Telescope, which has been looking for exoplanets,
They've lost contact with that?
That's run out of gas. It can't maneuver anymore.
But that was normal. They expected that.
They've expected,
and they just replaced that, right?
9 years. It's the one point. The gyroscopes are so out of whack that they're actually balancing it on solar radiation. The Dawn spacecraft is around Ceres in the asteroid belt.
Mike has now handed off the broken corkscrew and bottle to his son Kevin, who is going to use.
This was a great idea. Every wine drinker should have a
pair of pliers, but you've given up on those.
But surely you could do sabretted. You know,
it would be easier for me to go back to Italy and get another bottle.
I'm so sorry. Oh no, it's a failure. We will get a better corkscrew.
They can put a car into space.
You can't get a cork out of a bottle. Why don't we just get one of those swords? You have a sword? I have a sword. Let's just get one of those.
Who
swords.
doesn't have a sword in their office?
I do have a sword in my office. I don't know if it's sharp. Does it have to be sharp?
It won't work. It won't work.
What
It's the wrong kind of cork.
You run it. Oh, really?
Yeah, this is the wrong kind of cork. This won't work.
Okay.
Oh, I'm glad you told me ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, if you are going to. Yeah, if you are,
it's got a metal corkscrew and it says John.
If you are
so that
say,
will definitely not work. Sorry.
Yeah, if you are
get it out. I have stuff at home.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Trust me, it's good Prosecco. Trust me.
Oh my God.
It's probably
what were you saying? I'm sorry, Iain. I got distracted.
Oh, yes, the triple whammy. Yeah, so Kepler's out of action. Dawn spacecraft didn't call back as on schedule on Wednesday.
Dawn of the Dead?
That's right. Dawn is currently in orbit around Ceres, the largest asteroid in the asteroid belt, and they think now it can't maneuver and point its antenna back to Earth. And then Opportunity, it's not looking good. They're going to give it until January, but 14 years on the surface is a damn good run. But it's looking as though it just can't charge it.
That's the saddest one. That is the sweetest little rover.
Oh, I know.
It was tweeting and everything.
Yeah,
well, but Iain also isn't Kepler is being replaced by something new, some new exoplanet hunter, right?
Yeah, we've got a new exoplanet. It's actually already up there. They're just calibrating it at the moment, but Kepler is just. The amount of repair work they've done on that has been from we think remote tech support is is tough. Try doing it from a few million miles.
Yeah.
And at one point, as I say, they only had one gyroscope functioning. They were using the pressure of solar radiation to keep it on target. I mean, NASA engineers are just the bomb.
Yeah.
Did Elon say anything else to Kara that was of interest?
No. Yes, he did.
I didn't hear the interview.
One of the most interesting things was he said the single product that I am most excited about is our forthcoming pickup truck, which he said is like a cyberpunk pickup truck.
Yeah. He says straight out of Blade Runner.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, that should be cool. Should be nice. He also talked a lot about the upcoming opening of the tunnel in Los Angeles, and they posted a video.
The Boring Company.
Today or yesterday, the Boring Company.
But that's just a test. You can't go anywhere. It's the one under SpaceX.
Right.
But at least it's opening.
So it's a proof of concept. He said a few interesting things about the space program. He said a few vaguely nice things about Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin,
because
company.
They're not exactly, but sort of a competitor to SpaceX.
But and he said others may know this that I didn't know this. They're going to actually SpaceX is going to be launching astronauts to the space station.
Yeah,
pretty soon.
They were due to do it this year, but the testing is both Boeing and SpaceX are going to be doing crewed launches. I think Boeing is due to fly their first crew in August. SpaceX is going to do it in June. And the pucker factor on those flights has got to be really quite something.
Yep. And it's going to be the first time the U.S. has delivered humans into space since the space shuttle.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting. But it was a good interview, and
it is shameful that we're having to rely on the Russians to get astronauts up to the International Space Station. It's just.
And one last story, just to kind of encourage you.
Oh, yes.
To cast your vote on Tuesday.
Yes. We had fun with this one.
You can't vote for FCC commissioners. I wish you could. But in a talk, FCC Commissioner Mike O'Reilly giving at the Media Institute, which is incidentally funded by the big telecoms, he said that the biggest threat to the First Amendment in the age of the internet is municipal broadband networks.
Yeah. And also that pirate radio is the equivalent of drug dealing.
It's just like municipalities, he said, such as Chattanooga, very famous with their power company, an amazing story. Tennessee and Wilson, North Carolina, the notorious Wilson, North Carolina, have been notorious for their use of speech codes in the terms of service of. See, he's using a kind of loaded term here, state-owned networks.
Yes.
Prohibiting users from transmitting content that falls into the amorphous categories like hateful or threatening. How dare they?
Yes.
It's a
so
threat
much better
to
when
free
we let
speech.
people.
Yeah. This is a new tack, really, in the age-old fight of telecoms to keep cities from doing municipal Wi-Fi, which is good for the economy, good for the locals.
Yeah.
Often is a response to a duopoly or worse, a monopoly by a telecom company, an overpriced, poor provisioned internet. But it does pose an ominous threat to the First Amendment.
It poses a threat to telco's profits. That's the only threat it poses. And it's great. I mean, seriously, we have local government to keep the roads going. We have it to keep the power systems going. Why not internet?
It's not like they're saying, oh, Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, just get out of town. We're going to do it ourselves. Yeah. They just, how dare they compete?
I know. It's like the broadband market in this country desperately needs competition.
Right.
2/3 of people can't have one choice of high-speed internet provider.
Unfortunately, Mike O'Reilly is not an elected
Well, I mean,
official, but he's appointed by elected officials.
Right. The majority on the commission is determined by the party of the president. So when you elect a Republican or a Democratic president, you end up with a Republican or a Democratic majority on the FCC. So
again, if you don't vote, you can't complain. Tuesday, go vote.
Decisions are made by people who turn up.
Poor Ian's disenfranchised, so you can make up for his inability to do anything about the state of the world. He can fume at the register.co.uk. Actually, do you get to write articles at all anymore? Is it all edited?
I turn in a few articles here and there. It's generally sort of more analysis and comment pieces.
All right, good.
We had one which was which got people riled up every now and again, which is always good fun.
Well, I just tried to go to the register.co.uk, and I got a railgun error 527. So you might just want to call the guys back at the farm.
I should give Marco
That's a Cloudflare something.
Oh, I'm getting okay.
Yeah, maybe it was just that one.
Yeah, well, I think
time.
the pointy stick of editorial justice will be pointed.
Came back. Thank you, too, to Brian McCullough. Again, How the Internet Happened from Netscape to the iPhone. You can hear Brian every single day on the Tech Meme Ride Home. Right there on the front page at techmeme.com. And, of course, I never miss it because I live on TechMeme. And
thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here, Brian. And thanks to Mike Elgan for bringing us an unopenable bottle of Prosecco.
It's all your fault.
No, it's our fault. We will find a way to get in there. And now I'm just desperate to get into it. Thank you always for being here. When do you leave town?
In a week, we're going to Mexico City, and we'll be back for Thanksgiving, and then back to Mexico City again. Quick shout out. You mentioned you're going to.
I wanted to. Let's do Kevin, your son, who has worked at Tinker. We were mentioning that, which was a great iPad. Still is a great iPad app to teach people programming.
Piper.
He worked at Piper, where they do those great Piper kits, which are build yourself computers. And your new startup is called. Now, it's not out yet, Chatterbox.
So go to hellochatterbox.com.
Hellochatterbox.com. It's going to be a Kickstarter in a couple of weeks?
A couple of weeks, yeah. Site just went up. And essentially, it's a build it yourself, program it yourself, smart speaker for kids.
So if your kids are getting rude to Amazon's Echo or mouthing off at Cortana, this is the best solution. Have them build their own. And you're not using Echo. I found out Echo software. They actually are using an open source voice assistant.
Open source, yeah. It's called Mycroft.
Mycroft.
It's a great
Sherlock Holmes' arch nemesis. That's right. No, his brother, actually.
Yeah, it's
cool.
a great open source, kind of project out there.
We'll keep an eye on it.
This is really nice. It kind of reminds me of when we used to build crystal radios as a kid.
Today they build Amazon Echo.
Yeah,
that's something. We've come a long way, baby. Hello, chatterbox.com. Good luck, Kevin. And once you do the Kickstarter, we'll get you on and we'll get everybody visiting over there. That's great. Thank you all for being here. We do This Week in Tech every Sunday afternoon. It's at 3 p.m. Pacific, now Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That means it's 2300 UTC. So we flip the clocks back, and that confuses everybody. 2300 UTC. You do the calculations. If you want to watch live, you can go to twit.tv/live. Choose the live feed of your choice, audio or video. People sometimes don't know. You can listen to the audio of the show. If you do watch us live or listen live, join us in the chat room, irc.twit.tv. You can even ask your chatterbox to stream. You just say, play Twit Live, and in most cases, you'll get the live stream audio on your Echo or your Google Assistant. I don't know if Mycroft's smart enough to do that yet, but you know what? I'm going to get a chatterbox, and I'm going to teach it how to do it. If you're not here live, don't worry. Oh, I should mention, you can also come in the studio audience. Greg and Jillian are here from San Jose. It's Greg's birthday on Tuesday. Happy birthday, Greg. You're wearing a Disneyland 1955 t-shirt. Is that when you were born? Because that would make you older than me, and I don't think you are. Yeah. Happy birthday. If you want to be here in studio, and many people do come here to celebrate special occasions, all you have to do is email tickets@twit.tv. We'll make sure we have a chair out for you. If you can't be here live or watch live, you can always get the downloadable shows after the fact through our great CacheFly network at twit.tv, or subscribe. Find your favorite podcast application. There's plenty of them out there. And search for This Week in Tech in there and subscribe. That way you'll get it the minute the editors finish polishing it up later in the day on Sunday. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the next time. Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye. Doing the Twit.